Hey, happy Sunday. Well, at the time of filming, it's Sunday, and I gotta check the date real quick because I don't remember. Sunday, July 16th. So if you're watching on YouTube, of course, timestamps will be in the description, and otherwise, we'll just be here live until people show up. So, well, we'll be here live after people show up, too. I'm just gonna leave when they show up, but, whew. Excuse me. Oh, I forgot to get water. That'll be fine. We'll figure that out. Hey, everybody. Hey, Leo. Good to see ya. How are you doing? 9 Great Lives. Good to see ya. Hey, how are you doing? Elliot Kim. Hi. Hey, how's it going? I think I saw Angela. Hi. Jessica. Good to see you. Oh, thanks, Leo. I did not see that email yet. Everything has been okay. I definitely just needed a break, maybe rearrange some different things. I'm not 100% sure what all changes to make yet, but I think I'm just gonna have to make some changes, probably in like my work schedule and just things I'm doing. So probably not a big deal. I'll still be here, but I'll probably be making changes in the near future here. But I'm doing well. I'm doing well overall today. Sean, good to see you. Great to see you too. Hey Monica, I'm doing well. How are you? Oh, thanks so much, Leo. I super appreciate it. I hope you're doing well too. Been was thinking back to some of the classes you were in and thinking about how you might be doing. So I'll check my email sometime after this today. Jessica, it was funny that you told me. I thought that was so funny when you commented that because you told me about the break in the dream. I was like, wow, it's it's really on. It was funny, but in like a good way, of course. Def, take the time when you need it. Yeah, I think that's the lesson for me, for sure. And it's funny how much like you don't realize, at least for me, like you don't realize you need it sometime. Because I don't know if I realized how much I needed it until like the week I took was over, and I kind of felt how I was doing. I'm like, I'm doing a lot better, and I did not realize like I needed like these consecutive days to not work. So it is funny. And there was like one instance where I was like, I don't know, like personally for me, maybe more on the human level, like I'll get mad if I feel like I can't move forward and do things, but the awareness really hit me, which I was appreciative of. That was like, no, like you're getting time to rest. Like you need time to rest. So thankfully, I was getting that awareness, and it wasn't just, me and my doing that. So hey Kylie, Antonia, hi Bobby, Denaladu, cool name. I might be completely just not saying that right, so I apologize, but doing great. Awesome. Glad to hear you're doing great, Leo. Yeah, so I have like a beard hair in my mouth or something, or a cat hair, I don't know. We're probably going to do what we normally do for the lives. I don't have any channel messages ahead of time like I do. They kind of indicated they would rather have me just flow with what's coming through, so we'll probably do the same format. If they change it up on me, then they change it up. I forgot to grab water before this live, so I might have to take a minor intermission at some point in between the readings and, and get that. But beyond that, I should have the signs somewhere. Yeah, we got them right here. So we're probably going to start the collective reading in just a second here. Go getter. Yeah, maybe I should do it now. Actually, I'm getting to do it later, so I'll do it later. I'll do it after the first probably round of whatever we're doing today here. Get water. I super appreciate the encouragement. I think, would it be nice to get water now? Yeah, overall, yes. Would it be nice good for me to just do the reading and then get water? I'll just go get water. It's fine. I'll be right back, guys. It'll be like 2 minutes tops. Oh, thank you. my pleas for water were overheard. Someone just handed it to me when I opened the door, so good. Excuse me. So that worked out. Gonna have to thank the girlfriend for that one. Okay, so I'm getting, I need to start the reading. So I'm gonna put the little collective sign up. So we're just gonna flow with what's coming through. If they want to do something different, I'm sure they'll correct me at some point. But so this is just meant to be for whoever sees it, whenever they see it. Just, you know, it's meant to be timeless if you're rewatching on YouTube or watching for the first time on YouTube. So this is just meant to be, you know, channel messages and, you know, whatever is for the highest good to come through for you at the time that you're seeing it. So that's the intention. So let me see where they'd like to start for the collective reading today. I don't have anything ahead of time again, like they just wanted to kind of do it in the moment. So the first thing they're showing me, and well, there's a couple different visuals showing up here. First one was an elephant here. Usually when an elephant shows up, it is about obstacle removal. I am hearing it's about obstacle removal right now. Kind of a weird message, but if you are facing a lot of obstacles right now, which is probably at least half of you is what I'm hearing. And if there's, sometimes with these messages, there's like, never mind, you'll understand as I keep going. But it was a weird message. Like if you feel like you're facing a lot of obstacles right now, they will be removed at the right time. And not my normal advice for this, but it's not really up to what my normal advice is. It's what's for the highest good to come through for you in your, you know, regarding the reading. It was almost like if you are facing a lot of obstacles, like almost a recommendation to kind of just like sit pretty almost. Like I'd be still taking action where you need to. But sometimes the universe is calling us to like rest and not worry or not beat up on ourselves when we're facing a lot of things that are obstacles or anything like that. They're kind of bringing in that reminder, which I know, but the reminder I'm hearing is, you know, there is a divine timing to certain things. So if you're facing like a ton of obstacles, it might be time to like rest for a day or take a break and then come back to it with a fresh set of eyes. And you might see a path forward like after that, instead of just banging your head up against the obstacles over and over again. And I do feel like the obstacles, if you feel like you're facing a lot, will be removed. Is something I'm getting as well, but it might end up being like a timing thing as well, if that makes sense. So don't beat up on yourself or anything like that. For others of you, if you feel like obstacles have been put in front of you or in place recently for you, or you feel like you just have recent obstacles that just showed up like out of nowhere in like the past week or so, or maybe past month, those will as well be removed at the right time. Like you don't need to freak out about those. It could be a detour that gives you a lesson you need for the future, or jettisons you, if that's the right word, in a better direction as well, like overall, or just make sure things happen at the right time, if that makes sense. So if you've been faced with recent obstacles, like you're going to be okay. So we're going to move to the next message. They're showing me a waterfall for this next message, but they're really highlighting the thing of falling, like someone like almost like they're showing someone like falling over the waterfall. They're highlighting like the word falling as well. So let me see what the message is really quickly. Give me like 2 seconds just to see what they say. So this message right now might not, I mean, the reading will be overall, but hang with me for a second. Like this particular message might not be for all of you, but for a few of you, and we'll see what else they have to say for the rest of you regarding this message. Because there's this message of like, if you're like falling for someone, for those of you doing that, like it's not like a bad thing, if that makes sense. I know sometimes people get like scared when that can happen, but again, it could be like opening you to something in life or teaching you something. I don't know who needs to hear that falling for someone is not a bad thing, but that's for those of you that's happening for. I would, you know, let me see if they want to clarify it any further here. It could also be for others of you where it's not a person, like you feel like you're falling for something in life, like you're almost head over heels for, it could be like a job or like a hobby or something else that you're like metaphorically like falling in love with, or I guess you know what I mean. And again, like that's like okay, like it's not a bad thing to like be in love with something, or to fall in love with something in life, even if it's scary. I feel like it could actually, or will actually, lead to good things as well if you're starting to fall in love with something, or something like that. I don't want to promise this is like the love of your life or anything. Like I would, if this is a person, like I'd kind of be open to where life takes you with it, you know, just have fun with it if it's romance or anything like that. And if it's more of like a thing or a situation or a place, or it could be like a you know, anything like that, I feel like it is leading you to good things. And you know, sometimes I don't want to say this and have people take it the wrong way, because I think there are people who are more like aromantic and they're totally fine, you know, living life that way. But in other circumstances, sometimes life could be boring if you just like didn't fall in love with anything, even if you were afraid of like losing things or anything like that. So I would almost take it as the spice of life a little bit. Kind of a weird message. So there is a bit more with this waterfall. I'm going to see if they want to clarify it more deeply, or what else I'd like to say with it here. So for others of you yet, if you didn't feel like those first two iterations of the message were for you, like if you feel like you're falling in life, like you're falling apart, or anything is falling apart, I do feel like you're going to be okay, or like life will catch you. I don't feel like this is a rock bottom moment for you. You know, some of you might feel like you're there. I do feel like you're going to be okay. But life kind of either has like a safety net, because like someone's falling over this waterfall and there's like a safety net that they like fall into. So I feel like life's going to catch you and help you out for anything like that's going on. And there's one more message with this waterfall they'd like to get to before we move on to the next phase here. So some of you might feel like you're falling from like the top of something. Like it could be like a business or some type of success, or like I'm hearing something weird like a pinnacle of success or something like that. Or maybe you had like a relationship and you feel like it's falling apart. And like the message for you is like you're not really like falling from the top. Like it might feel like you are, but you're not. You're just like moving on to something different is kind of the message for anyone who feels like they're falling from like the top of something, or you feel like you reached some pinnacle of success and it's falling apart. Like it's actually not. It's like you just need to go somewhere else is kind of what I'm hearing. And I feel like if you were to stay there, it's like you would end up being bored, or like things like might not work out in the long run like you would think they would, or something like that. So like I'm almost I don't know, like maybe you metaphorically climb this rock and you're at this like rock jutting out of the top of this waterfall, and you're like, oh, I made it to the top. But it's like maybe if you stayed there for like 10 years, the rock would like crumble or fall or something like that. So it's like whatever is going on with that, it's just time to move on to something different is what I'd say. So we're moving on to the next phase of these messages. They're showing me a go-kart next. It honestly looks like Mario Kart, because there's Mario driving this go-kart with his, you know, green shell or whatever. And I know some of you love the video game references when they bring those in, so I'll share that here. This one is about winning, so let me see what they'd like to say about this message about winning here. So there is a quick message of sometimes it's tempting to like win at all costs, and it's like, you know, you don't care who you piss off, or most of you aren't like this, by the way. I think sometimes people have moments where this like shows up in you work through it or something like that, but I know most of you here are good people, and so I don't assume that you guys are like this at all. But if any of you have something popping up to work through where it's like winning no matter what, or winning where you might be tempted to like piss people off, or, you know, step on people's shoes or toes or faces, or however it works, or anything like that, I feel like Spirit is just asking you to calm down a little bit and consider, this isn't going to be all of you, but consider the people around you. Make sure you're doing things in a healthy way for the people in your life. And I don't know, like if you feel called to like ditch everyone, like it might not be the best idea, or if you felt like you've been in a zone where you're just like not caring about people, it might be time to just sit with it and reconsider. If whoever needs to hear that, kind of a weirder message for this crowd, but I want to sit with it for just a little bit longer and see how else they would like to clarify it here. For others of you, you might feel like others have been trying to like win at all costs, and you're the one who keeps like getting hit with the items in Mario Kart before you cross the finish line. What I would like to say for you, what I'm getting for you, is that Spirit has your back. So if you feel like you're in last place, like you're not going to be in last place for long, like Spirit has you covered is what I'm hearing. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. If that flip version it feels a bit more like you in this scenario, like I do feel like you're gonna be okay, and I keep hearing you're gonna be okay. The third message with the whole Mario Kart scenario, though, I do feel like this is gonna be more for like all of you and not just for like groups of you in this reading. Let me sit with it for 1 second here. I feel like you might feel like, at least some of you might feel like you can't get ahead, because they're showing like in Mario Kart there's this item called I used to play a lot of video games, you know, growing up, so my spirit guides have a lot of things to work with as far as video game analogies when I do readings and channel and get messages from them. But there's this item called like a blue shell, and not every time, when you're in first place, any character in the game or player in the game can throw this item and it will automatically go and like take out the person in first place, essentially. And so they're kind of showing someone like zooming towards the finish line, and then this blue shell comes out of nowhere and like boom, and it's like you kind of, you know, get laid out right before the finish line, and it seems like a bunch of people pass you by or whatever. So let me see what this message is here, because they're talking about if you feel like that's happening for you either over and over again or even just like this once here. It could just be that if that's happening for you, it's just not the right race for you, if that makes sense. Like maybe, for example, like felt like you were about to get this big breakthrough or to the top in like the beauty industry, for instance. And then it kind of seems like Spirit or the world or something just comes and like wrecks it. And you're like, no. But it's like Spirit's just like, yo, that was just the wrong race. Like, is what I'm hearing for any one of you who feel like that's happening to you. Like, I don't even feel like it's you. It's more like at the right time and the right thing, you're going to win, essentially. For those of you who feel like you just aren't winning. Or you had something in mind and it's just not working out or something like that. For others of you, let's see. I actually feel like that was the message, honestly. I feel like if you don't feel like you're winning, like there will be a time like you are going to be winning. And I'm not saying that just to be nice. That's what I'm hearing. So if you feel like you're taking losses or something like right now, I feel like you're going to be moved to the right racetrack metaphorically for you, where it's not such a grueling contest or not so heartbreaking, if that makes sense. But others of you, I feel like you are just going to be winning, so that's good here. Kind of a bummer of a message, but not really, because I think it's more just like you probably don't want to be stuck winning at the wrong thing and then be stuck in that arena, and it's not right for you, if that makes sense. That could be heartbreaking as well, where you're in this thing for 20 years and it's just not the right thing, you know. So I want to see if there are any other messages for the collective reading before we move on here. The next thing they're showing me is a banana, which is, funny enough, another item in that game. For those of you who feel like you keep slipping, you know, in life recently, I feel like you're going to get your traction soon, which is good. I feel like you're going to be heading in the right direction. Again, even if you feel like there are obstacles or anything like that going on, I feel like Spirit really has the right path, like in front of you, or will have it in front of you soon. So any of you who like felt like you were running the wrong race when I was mentioning that, like you will be on the right race soon. So I actually feel like things are panning out in the long term. There just might be adjustments to your path happening now, in recent past or recent history, etc. So you guys will be winning. Just hang in there is what I'd say. I feel like that's it for that reading, and that was a bit of a weirder one for me, but if those are the messages, those are the messages. So there's one last thing, though. This is a very strange one. So there is, again, one last character from Mario, well, reference for this reading, I suppose. And it's this character, like there's these like turtle guys called Koopas. And then there's ones that are like they're like skeletons. I think they're called dry bones, but they were showing that character, and they were kind of talking about like the skeleton. And so for those of you who feel like you have just been a skeleton of your former self or something weird like that, this is a very strange message. You're going to get like new meat on you, if that makes sense. Like spirits like rebuilding you into a higher version of you. So you're kind of more just stripped of what wasn't really serving your highest good. So it's not really like you're lesser than your former self. It's like there were just things that had to go, if that makes sense. And you're being restructured, rebuilt. So you're getting new. It seems a little bit gruesome. The visuals aren't that gruesome. It's a little weird, but whatever. You're getting new meats and a new you, I guess, in this rebuilding process. So hang in there with that. You'll be a new and improved version of yourself in the near future or going forward at some point. So, and I do want to reiterate, like, you guys are going to be winning. Like, it's not forever that you feel like your hopes are dashed or anything like that, if anything like that's been happening. So, I would keep your head up and keep moving, whatever that's all about. This came through in one of the last lives as well, and a number of the last readings, I think, in a certain live where like jade kept showing up as like a crystal. Like they're showing me like a jade bracelet, but they're also showing me green aventurine as well, like a green aventurine like necklace or bracelet or things like that. Seems a bit random, but it's probably not. Green crystals could be important for at least some of you right now. And like, of course, like jade and green aventurine, two of the things they have in common are good luck, I believe. They're also both supposed to be for the heart chakra in general and things like that. So there's like a healing to good luck occurring. You might also be like opening your heart center more right now, and that's going to be bringing more good luck potentially, or positivity, or just good omens, good energy, positivity, better things being attracted to you for that, I suppose you could say as well. If you feel called to those crystals, I would work with them. Some of you probably already have them on your person. Probably not all, but if you feel called to that, I would do that. I feel like that energy could be really helpful right now. So anything else before we close this reading up? They're just reiterating you're not going to be slipping. So I know I was kind of going to close it like 5 messages ago, but that's fine. And anything else before we like move on to the next phase here? I don't know who needs to hear this. This could just be for one of you, but I'm hearing this message like you're not going to be ghosted. And I feel like it's about an opportunity in life that you're worried about. If for those of you who've already been ghosted, like you'll just get something new as a replacement. But some of you are like really worried about being ghosted and you're not going to be. So I don't know who needs to hear that. Okay, hope that was helpful. Resonated, do whatever was for your highest good. I feel like there's more like themes trying to like squeeze through as I go to close this, like because they're showing me like tiger's eye and tigers and carnelian, like the crystal as well. So there could be a lot of empowerment coming, or you might be feeling more empowered soon is kind of what I'm hearing, which will be good. Okay, I'm closing it now. So we'll move on to the earth signs next, or fire signs next, sorry. Malachite bracelet, perfect. Good to see you, Amy, by the way. Janine, I've been exercising my heart chakra, perfect. I feel like that's right on. I don't think we need to block Marina. She is one of the moderators, but I don't know what's going on in the chat. I've been busy doing the reading. Oh, my shirt is green. Good catch. They told me to wear this one today, so and sometimes I'm not sure why until things happen. Oh, thanks, Sober Girl. Yeah, I completely misunderstood. I see what you were saying now. So it's not Mercury in retrograde coming up soon, is it? Okay, thank you. I choose self-love. Thanks, Sober Girl, for clarifying. But thanks for y'all take care. Thanks, Marina, for taking care of business, and for chat for helping to keep chat in a good spot for all of y'all. I have not done air signs yet, Angelica. What are those black things behind you? Not curtains. These are foam panels. So really what those are for, and is when I moved into this house and started using this room, is it's all wood floors. I don't really have a lot of plushy furniture in here, so there's this really intense like echo, even though I had this mic. So the foam is there to sound treat the room and try to help get rid of the echo. And there's still a little bit of an echo I can hear, but it's way better than it was before. So I have it all around the room right now. Venus retrograde now? Oh, interesting. Oh, perfect. Sushi wears a green jade ring and green malachite ring together every day. That sounds awesome. I should probably get more crystals on me, but that's another story. Morning Cancer is coming up. Ooh, that sounds emotional. Sorry, I'm moving things around my desk real quickly. Okay. So I'm going to hang out with you guys for just a second, and then we're going to do the fire signs reading too. I am just going to start the fire signs in a little bit, so I have not done them yet. Oh, that's so cool, Jillian. Join when you brought up the waterfall message, and I was just swimming in a waterfall. It sounds like you either go on adventures or live in places with adventurous, cool waterfalls and things by them, so that's cool. Ooh, yeah, everyone's wearing the malachite today. That's super interesting. Ooh, I do love that crystal. I love some of the designs that can show up in the tumbles or the big crystals and things. I don't feel like I've had a malachite in a while though. Either like gifted them or what have you. Oh heck yeah. Perfect, sober girl. Thanks for the feedback. They would like me to, rough week. I hear ya. They'd like me to start the fire signs soon, so excuse me. I think I will heed that message and just start that in just a few seconds here. Dang, y'all are on the same page with this malachite. Y'all are ahead of the curve with that. Okay, we're going to put up the fire sign fully. If that's good, let's go. Okay. Sorry for my back and forth there. So if you have a fire sign, sun, moon, or rising, it's for you when you see it. And I usually have channel messages that came through ahead of time. I'm just going to be flowing with what comes through as they bring it through. So yeah, we'll just see what comes through for you. What would be good to come through for you today, and it's meant to be for you whenever you're seeing it, whether it's now live or you're watching later on YouTube here. So weird message. First message coming out for you is that I would be pulling cards for yourself. This sounds a little bit. We'll see if they have anything more in depth to explain it, but I would be pulling cards for yourself right now, whether it's oracle cards or whatever you work with to jog your intuition. This sounds obvious, but I'd definitely be like doing your best to get clarity on your life right now and on your next steps and like where you're at. But it's like clarity for you. And I'm hearing a weird sentence or message like, I could be up here and like channel all day, but if you're not getting clarity for you, like it's important that you're doing both. I suppose I could say, not to denigrate myself or what I'm doing or saying like I'm not bringing clarity or anything like that. But I would also be working to access your own intuition and get clarity for yourself right now. It could just be whether you're using that to supplement whatever else you watch, or you're just using what you watch to supplement what you're getting for yourself or for confirmation or wherever you're at, whatever is right for you right now. But right now, I'd definitely be like working on just getting clarity for yourself and all that here. You might even be feeling pulled in a number of different directions if you've been, maybe not all of you, but if you've been listening to like different readers or different people or reading different books or anything like that. So it's a really good time for you to get clear on what you need to get clear on like for yourself. So next message we can get to here before I harp on that too much. They're kind of bringing the banana in, which we just talked about banana in the collective reading as well. it can kind of make sense that sometimes the collective messages will show up in these other messages, because there might be some of you who are just tuning in freshly and you still need the message, or it's just showing that the collective message was a message you needed more specifically as well. And it also might be a time for them to get into more detail. But if you feel like you've been like slipping or tripping up, I do feel like you're about to, like in life metaphorically, I do feel like you're about to catch your balance and just start moving forward better. We're kind of in a tricky time right now. Maybe not every single one of us, but a lot of us is something I'm getting. Like there's a lot rearranging. There's a lot of like message I'm getting like mind changing, if that makes sense. Like people are changing their minds, like you might be changing your mind, which is why that clarity message might be important right now. So it might be a little bit easier to like slip or feel like you're slipping in your life, or like you're saying the wrong thing or what have you. So, but I do feel like you're about to get traction and just move forward a bit better. So I feel like it's a non-issue, honestly. You know, sometimes we all kind of slip up or have a mistake or something, and like that's okay, honestly, is what I'm getting. There's like no need to beat up on yourself or take it too personally or anything like that right now. And like because so much is redirecting like in life and it with people in general, like including yourself, probably, like it's kind of almost expected that people are like slipping a little bit or just being redirected really suddenly and feeling like they're losing their balance a little bit. So doing your best to maintain balance, even if like energetically, could be important right now as well, as something I'm getting for you, interestingly enough. So the other message that next message I'm getting for you is like you might be feeling forced in a certain direction, or hopefully you don't feel like pulled in multiple directions at the same time in a more forceful way, but they were showing you like on a conveyor belt. And this conveyor belt was like forcing you to go on this certain direction and like feeding you into this machine. And it didn't really seem like it was a direction you wanted to go necessarily, but it could be the right option anyways. Let me sit with this message and see how they'd like to clarify it, or just see how they'd like to keep channeling it through here. For those of you who feel pulled in multiple directions, I feel like you're about to get more pulled in just one direction. So there will be a bit more ease with that. You might have to let go a little bit of certain like options in your life, or certain like people that you have been clinging to, if that's you and you've been feeling pulled in certain directions. The best thing you can do for yourself is go in the right direction for you and make sure you're going in the best direction for you, like regardless of what other people think or what other people would have you do, because you know they're not you. They don't have to live your path or the consequences of your choices or results of your choices. That specific last line I just reiterated was a line I've heard somewhere else, but it's kind of what they were having me say anyways. But I felt like there was some good wisdom to that, where it's like people might want to make choices for us, but they don't have to live with the consequences of the choices, you know, that we would be making if we just followed everything they, you know, someone in our personal life wanted us to do. So make sure you're moving in the best directions for you that feel best to you, and you're making either your own choices or listening to the universe on the choices to make, because it's more important you're living the life you'd like to live and not just like the life your mom wants you to live or something like that, if that makes sense. You get it. So I'm going to move back to what they were trying to say, or get back on track here. So again, but you're probably going to be moving more in like a singular direction instead of pulled in multiple directions soon. Even if it's a direction you don't think you want to go, if it's the direction the universe is like ushering you and like all the signs are pointing to it and events are kind of like forcing you along that path, it's probably going to turn out better than you expect. Because you might be feeling like you're going to get obliterated by this path, whatever it is, but it turns out fine is what I'm getting, or better than fine. And I feel like once you're on the other side of it, you're doing better than ever. So if you feel like that's happening, try not to be afraid of the path the universe has you on, even if it seems a bit disconcerting right now. Like, I really feel like it's going to be okay. And again, like, I don't know why they're having me reiterate it, but you seemed afraid because you were on this conveyor belt. You looked like you were about to be fed into this machine, and you're like afraid of the results, but I feel like the results will be better than ever. And the machine doesn't really like hurt or anything like that. Even if it looks like a processing machine. And of course that's a metaphor. That's not literal. I highly doubt someone's on TikTok watching the live on a conveyor belt about to be fed into a machine, but shout out to you if you are. I get there's not, but Anyways, let's get back to the reading here. Speaking of that kind of vibe, though, they are showing me like chickens, and like there's chickens with these eggs that they're laying. So let me see what the message is here for this one. If you feel like any of your results in life have been like stolen from you, or any of your hard work has been stolen, or someone's like stolen credit from you on something, and there's another like iteration of this showing up as well, like as an example where it's like maybe you worked really hard to like date this someone, and then someone else just like waltzes up and quote unquote steals them away, or something like that. I feel like you're about to have your results handed back to you, so it might feel like all your eggs are being stolen by the man, metaphorically. But I feel like what I'm getting is you're about to have your rewards handed back. Let me see if they'll give me more clarification on what this could look like, though. Just a little bit further. For some of you, if you feel like a person got stolen away from you, you might get like a new person. If you feel like it was like credit or certain results you were supposed to get, like it could come in a different form. So I don't know if it doesn't have to be a different form. It's going to be different for each of you, I suppose, but I don't know if I'd be dead set on like it has to come back directly from this avenue. For some of you it will, for some of you it's from somewhere else, but don't feel like your results or whatever this is that's been stolen from you will be stolen from you like forever is what I'd say. Like you'll get it back. I don't know what that's about. I mean, I got the different examples I got, but I'm sure you're able to understand what it's about as you're watching the reading, at least most of you. So for others of you here, I feel like this chicken in this visual is also like ready to like defend its nest like at all costs. Like it has its beak. The beak is looking sharp. It's ready to peck at any like egg stealers or people trying to steal its results or anything like that. As far as what the message is with that, though, let me sit with it for a second. I mean, honestly, I feel like it's okay. It's okay to defend what's yours, but I wouldn't be like too overzealous where you're like harming people that are close to you or shutting too many people out like too much. If you feel like you're doing that or anything like that, like you might be going overboard if you're doing that, and try to balance it out and make sure you're not shutting like literally everyone out in your life because you're trying to make this specific thing happen, if that makes sense, if that makes any sense at all to you. So the next thing they're showing me is this like vegetable. I guess it's like farm themed for the past couple messages, because they're showing me like a corn, there's this barn, there's a cornfield, there's like a double rainbow or even a triple rainbow over it, which is pretty interesting. I do feel like there are certain like storms that are leaving, and they could be very like internal storms, because along with this visual of like a barn and cornfields and rainbows and all that, like there's this storm cloud, and it's weird because the cloud has a smiley face on it. It does look like something out of Mario again, if you watch the collective reading, but it's like leaving. And they were kind of specifying these could really be internal storm clouds. So you might have internal storms that are leaving, that were just kind of clearing some things out of you, or there's some emotional release to make space for just some of the new things coming in, or and sometimes it's like releasing an energy that's like been in your way, or kind of jamming things up in your process in life, or making things difficult. So good messages, storms are leaving. As far as like coming back to this corn here, like corn is kind of a like common crop, at least in certain parts of the world, or certain countries. I don't know why I'm saying this for you, but it's coming through for you that like you're not common. You might feel like a common crop or a common person, or like you're meant for common things, but it's like you're kind of really not. And lumping yourself in with that would be a little bit unfair to you and like your journey and what you've been through and like what you're meant for. So do your best not to see yourself that way. And if anything, maybe try to hold, if you feel like you're stuck in that mindset, maybe try holding it at least in like a neutral zone where it's like, I'm not sure if this is like what you have to do to kind of get to a better place. Like maybe taking a neutral, like, I'm not sure if I'm special or ordinary. Like I'm just not going to take an opinion on it right now, and just like let it be what it is, could be more helpful than like trying to thrust yourself one way or the other and like force it to be a certain way. Because one, that will show you the truth, and I feel like that would also help open the doorway for you to move into what you'd like to move into, instead of fighting one perspective or another, or seeing yourself a certain way, or fighting to be viewed a certain way. Weird message, but if you're in that zone, taking a neutral stance could help you move into what you'd actually move into in the long term, instead of being stuck in the throes of it or the fights of it. But again, you're not common is what I'd say as well. So beyond all of that here, if you've been feeling like you've been getting common results in your life for the effort you've been putting in, some of you, it sounds a little bit boring, but you might just need to like try a little bit harder. Some of you, I'm definitely not trying to like and this is for those of you who feel like you're getting very like ordinary normal results when you feel like you should be getting extraordinary results. You might either need to try new angles of like what you're working towards, like how you're working towards it, or put a little bit more effort in than you have been. If you feel like you haven't been like putting as much effort in as you healthily in a balanced way could, but you've been telling yourself you have been, like maybe just examine that and make sure like you're really being honest with yourself about that. And again, none of this is meant to like call you a liar or call you out in like a negative way. It's more just to help. It's more to help you. So if you really do check it intuitively, you're like, no, I've been really giving it my all. Like maybe I just need to try the new angle. That's fine. But do your best to just really be honest with yourself, because it's meant to help you overall, not meant to be like, you stink, you're not trying hard enough. So that's not what I'm trying to say. It's just what I'm hearing. So beyond all of that here, though, I don't feel like you're stuck getting ordinary results here. And by ordinary results, what I kind of mean is I don't know if you need examples, but some examples could be like you're getting like ordinary manifestations. You're like, I'd like a Ferrari. And then like you get like actually a Honda Civic's kind of a nice car, but in some ways, depending on the year, I think. But maybe you're like trying to get a Ferrari and you keep getting, I don't know, a Ford Focus. So you're trying to get $1 million and you get like 10,000. You're like, yeah, 10,000 is great, but it's like not what I'm aiming for. Again, it might take a little bit more effort, a new angle, or Spirit has like a new path that will help you get better manifestations. But I do feel like you're going to have to put some effort into it, whatever it is, for those of you who feel like you're only getting ordinary results. I feel like I'm about to go in like 20 different directions. Like for some of you, it could be a timing thing. But I feel like this is really for you who like, those of you who know you've been getting ordinary results for like a while, despite your efforts, I suppose. I feel like I'm repeating myself at this point, so we're going to move on soon, but I would definitely just try putting a bit more effort in, if you feel like you could. And it would be healthy for you. So let's move on here to the next, or if they want to clarify it more or move on, I want to see what would be highest on us to get to next here. The other message I'm getting for you with this note, and I hope this will make sense for you in your world and how to apply it, is if you're getting like a ton of ordinary, you can turn that into extraordinary. Because they're showing me this like cornfield, but as this farmer has enough corn, he can sell it and like get like a crap ton of money and then do something extraordinary with this ton of what seems to be ordinary. So as far as what that even means or how that would apply to your world, hopefully that makes sense right off the bat. But if it doesn't, I want to see if there's something that would help you more with it. For instance, maybe you're trying to manifest this really extraordinary person you're dating. And maybe like what shows up is this seemingly ordinary or plain like person that you end up dating. And you're like, okay, like I was really asking for like this, and this. And like this person has some of the qualities and they're a good person. So I feel like Spirit's really telling me to date this person. So I guess I will. Like I'll give this a shot. I mean, maybe like they turn into someone extraordinary like over the course of the relationship or over the next few years. And you really just kind of had to like hang in there and trust. I know that doesn't like totally apply to the cornfield message I was mentioning, but that's the example they gave me. So hopefully that makes sense. Or, you know, maybe you get a business and it does okay, but you're about to get the tweaks to make that would make it do really well or something like that. So keep all that in mind. Hopefully that was helpful. And I'm going to move on to the next thing before I talk about cornfields for the next 2 hours in this reading. So the next thing we're moving to, it's very simple. They're showing me like a fish. It just looks like a salmon, you know, in a stream, like swimming upstream or something like that. I do feel like if you're having a difficult journey, you are, because, you know, the salmon swimming upstream, I don't know if I'd have to ask the salmon, or I'd have to check in if it's actually difficult for them, because I suppose it's part of their nature. But in this scenario, it's representing something difficult for you as a difficult journey, where you know, all these salmon are swimming upstream and dodging bears and stuff. So, but if you are dealing with a difficult journey or have been, and it feels like it's been long, I do feel like you will have like good rewards on the other side of it. I don't feel like it's for nothing. It could be like preparing you for the future, and like, again, maybe you're asking for something big, and this journey is like teaching you just some of the lessons you need to handle if you have that big thing, for example. Like, for example, if you manifest a really big business, like you might have to deal with more BS than you realize in that big business. And like some of the lessons are like how to deal with that, so it's not a big deal, you know, by the time you get there. And it's not even that like it's always going to be difficult or rough or bad or anything like that. It could just be, these are the steps you need to take to get there, and be able to hold that manifestation once it shows up. So there are good things coming. Don't beat up on yourself if it's difficult. Like it's leading to something, is something I'm getting, especially if you like know it's leading somewhere. Like you have that intuition, you have that feeling, like, you know, it's not for nothing, but sometimes you still like question it. I'd say you're correct. Like it's there is something that will come in like at the end of it, or that you're heading towards with it. So interesting message, but there is more with this fish salmon thing here. So let's see what else is going on here. Not a pleasant visual. They're also showing the salmon like puking its guts up a little bit. I feel like the salmon is like tired of whatever it's been eating. Like maybe it's been forced to eat the same food over and over again to survive. And I'm not saying this is you literally, but hang on one second while I see what this is about here. I feel like if you've been going through the same thing over and over and over and over again in some area of your life, it is about to change, like, especially if you're really sick of it. So I would almost like hang on to your pants there, hang on to your britches. I feel like I really need to like make sure I say the R in britches when I'm saying this, but hang on to your pants. Because like something's either about to like take off in a certain direction, or something might even like, I don't think it's going to be bad, but like blow up to get you out of like the repetitive cycle. And maybe you didn't want it to happen, but it was like the only way it could happen to get you out of that, or maybe that's already happened. But again, I feel like it's a good thing because it like gets you out of something you're like sick of. Like this fish is literally like, I've never known a fish that would throw up because it was eating the same thing, but this fish is sick of it. So good news is it seems like you're getting out of something repetitive that you're sick of, for those of you going through that. We're probably going to close the reading soon. We're going back to the rainbow that came through with the farm, because we didn't really talk about that, I don't believe. I do feel like there is hope on the way, is the message I'm getting, where it's like you see a light at the end of the tunnel in something you're going through, or you're just feeling more hopeful about the future in general, which I feel like that's a good thing because it's actually accurate. I feel like the despair is actually like inaccurate, interestingly enough. Like the despair in a lot of the world, maybe even, or that the world's trying to feed you, if you feel like that's happening, because you could be fed a ton of information just scrolling through TikTok or Instagram Reels or whatever, of how you know, maybe you're a single person, you're like, relationships all suck and people are all cheating and da 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 da. But there could be some like really great individuals out there for you if you were to like keep doing your best to date and things like that. So there could be a lot of like despair that's like thrown around, and sometimes that's because that's what sells, you know, like people read the newspaper. You've probably heard the whole spiel where it's like people read the newspaper because they somehow got sold into this loop where they feel like if they don't read it, they're going to die because something bad will happen and they didn't know about it or see it coming or something like that. Or sometimes people buy into like certain amounts of despair because it seems like it validates like a past experience or something they've gone through, and then they don't have to try, or something like that. Like there could be a number of different things that play into it, but I would absolutely recommend not necessarily buying into despair on any level, because it doesn't have to be true, and two, what I'm hearing is the hope is actually the more accurate version of things going on or what the future can be. And I feel like it'll help you look to a brighter future and actually try. And it's not like a mind trick I'm trying to do to get you to try and improve your life. It's just what I'm hearing. So I hope that is helpful in some way. I would really just not give up on yourself or life. And if you need to take a break, that's fine. But there is hope, and it will show up is what I'm hearing. So that's cool. Last message, they're showing me like a cloud as well. They're giving me the word precipitation. And they're just saying, if it's raining, metaphorically, it could just be like watering your crops. It could just be helping you to have a brighter future. So I hesitate with this analogy a little bit, but rain doesn't always have to be bad. Like a lot of farmers or, maybe people more back in the day when irrigation wasn't as common, probably like celebrated rain, and celebrated the abundance it brought through the food that was grown, through the water it allowed them to drink, etc. So sometimes like rain is a necessary part of the process in your life if you feel like you're going through a rainy period. This is such a weird message. Like it doesn't even have to be bad. It could just seem a little bit gloomy, or maybe it just seems like things in your life are a little bit more slippery, like you're out in the rain, like things are slick with the rain and stuff like that. Or maybe it seems like it's a bit more difficult to see because it's rainy and there's clouds in the sky, and sometimes you try to drive in the rain and it's harder to see or whatever. But I would keep going. I feel like it's actually leading to good things, or good things will come at the end or because of it in the end of the day. So, and I'm not trying to say you have to have bad things to have good things or anything more limited like that. It's just the message I'm hearing for you right now regarding whatever is going on. So no more. I hope that helped, resonated, do whatever was for your highest good. I do feel like you guys are on the right track if you need to hear that. If any of you do feel a little bit broken down, I don't feel like you are. I feel like if that's you, you probably just need some rest is something I'd say as well, for those of you that are going through that. So flood warnings here. Oh, dang. Happy I could watch today. That means a lot, Steph. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. You're welcome, sober girl. Pronouncing words. Sober girl. We will start the Earth signs soon, but I might hang out with you guys for a little bit, and then 111 as part of people here. Thank you, resonates. You're welcome. Thank you so much. You're so welcome. So glad, of course, always to hear it resonates. It's helpful. Doing good in the world for the highest good. You're welcome, Rain. I think it's interesting that your username is literally Rain. Resonates so much. Perfect, Sean. Thank you. Just saw a double rainbow. Heck yeah. We just finished the fire signs, Dahlia Lama. What can you say about talismans? So I'm not very familiar with talismans at all. So probably not much right now. I'd probably have to look into it a bit more and see what angels, source, my guides had to say, spirit guides. Abundance of ordinary into extraordinary hit zone. Perfect. I'm glad to hear it, Alex, because that was I definitely trust the messages by now. It was still just like, hope this is making sense to people. New job conveyor belt resonated. Perfect. Fun fact, once upon a time, back in the day, I used to work in a weird little warehouse that manufactured conveyor belts. It wasn't like manufacturing conveyor belts. It was more like we had conveyor belt stock and we would cut the conveyor belt to customer specifications. And I don't recommend working in warehouses, if I'm being honest. I don't think it was my vibe. Woof and Wings. That's such a great username. Is that like a restaurant or just someone likes wings and woofs? Or both? Oh well. Pet sitting? Perfect. That makes sense. It's catchy. So we're probably going to start the earth signs soon. I'm an electromechanical technician, so change belts often. Hear that. Yeah, I didn't have to change the belts, thankfully. I just had to cut them and deliver them. Though I don't know. That, yeah. Okay, so they are telling me to start Earth ASAP, so I'm going to follow the divine guidance on that one. So if you have an Earth sign, Sun, Moon, or Rising, it's for you when you see it. And we're going to delve into, well, what's just kind of coming through. Not just kind of, what is coming through for you for this reading. I don't have any channel messages ahead of time. We're just channeling through what's coming through as we do the reading and flowing with that. So let's see where they'd like to start with. So funny enough, of course, for the Earth signs, they're showing me a mountain. They're also kind of showing me the cliff and the, if you're familiar with the Cliff Bar product, the Cliff Bars, like the snack bars, they're showing me that as well. So let's see what they're kind of getting to here for the Earth signs. I feel like for you, what I'm getting is like, it's almost like you're metaphorically on this climb, like you're climbing this mountain or this cliffside, and you're just about to give up or like stop climbing and just rappel down and go home and tell everyone you couldn't make it. But you're actually only like a few feet from the top of this cliff or this mountain, or you're like really close. So, and you might have even been like hearing this for a while, either in other readings, or I don't know if I've been channeling that through it all. But I would kind of keep going anyways. It's like sometimes like right when you're about to give up is like exactly when you should keep going. So whatever that resonates for you for, I wouldn't give up right now on that thing. It's like you'd probably much rather get to the top than have to rappel down and then realize you were close and then have to start all over again and beat yourself up for the next like 5 years or whatever because you didn't do the thing that you were so close to. So I don't know. You understand. But whatever that's resonating for, I would do that. So there's a bit more with this cliff and this mountain here, though. Here, like some of you might be in, this is probably not all of you, but some of you might be in the place where you're like about to give up on like your life, even like in general, like you're about to just like let yourself go, let your life go, let your job go. Just, you might even be tempted to be like, I give up. I'm going to be, this is probably not all of you, by the way, but going to be homeless or something like that. I would not recommend that for any of you in that zone or place. Like that's like the last thing I would recommend. If you're like really either struggling or trying to do something, like it would be much better if you're in that place to try and do something different. That would be to just like give up on your life. So like if it's a job that's making your life, really, really crappy, like try to find a different job before you just give up on your life. Or, if it's a relationship that's really hard, like try being single and finding someone else instead of just giving up on your life because of that relationship. I don't feel like I'm getting this out quite right. So let me sit with it for another second and see how they'd like to clarify it to help you better. So I don't know. I feel like some of you are about, what I'm hearing is like oh my God. Some of you are about to give up because you feel like your life is like really hard or just because of life in general, but I actually feel like it's about to get really good. So stick with it is what they're trying to say for you. If you're in like that kind of a place or a low place or whatever is going on there here. So next we're moving on. They're showing me elephant, which showed up for the collective reading. I feel like this is a little bit different here. This elephant in this visual is like, this is weird. He's like backtracking, or he's like circling back on his tracks. I feel like he's trying to make sure he's going in the proper direction in his life. I feel like the elephant needs to stop circling back and just like keep going though. Like, if you have a manifestation you're trying to bring in, like just keep going towards that manifestation and course correct that way instead of like moving backwards to make sure you're going in the right direction or something like that. I feel like I've heard a similar, okay, what should I say here? I don't know. I don't know who is going through this, but some of you might be tempted to like in addition to this message, we kind of already talked about it, but like restart your life or something like that, or like restart like a business or something. And it's okay if you need to make changes or adjustments, but I would just keep going towards what you're trying to get to in life, like your dreams, your targets, whatever the next step is for you regarding that. Even if it's just like the next level for you, or like maybe you're like, I don't know what to do overall, but what's the next level for you that you'd like to move towards like right now or something like that. That will move you forward better than like backtracking or starting over or restarting things or trying to start from point zero again to make sure you're doing it right or whatever the heck this is saying to you, if that makes sense. So really the main theme across these messages so far is like to keep going. Beyond all that here, let's see what else is going on either with elephant or something else. There's also, we're segueing into a different animal or spirit animal that would like to show up, and it's walrus here. They're talking about the walrus tusks, and there's also like the hermit showing up with like a lantern, like the card, in tarot. So let me see what they'd like to say with all this here. Guys, I'm going to ask them to like switch it up a little bit in a second here, because I feel like they're really hitting the same points over and over again. It might be hitting differently for you listening, which is fine too, but I'm going to say what they'd like me to say, and I'm going to ask them to switch it up a little bit for us if they don't mind. Because like they're showing this walrus, and with the hermit, like it's about like isolation, and this walrus is a bit isolated. He's in like the snow, he's in Antarctica, like in an isolated kind of location. Again, it seems like he's been on like a difficult journey, or he's on a difficult journey. And like, again, the message is like this walrus needs to like keep going and like not give up. Because it might feel like it's between crowds a little bit right now in life, or between positions in life a little bit. And this is representing you, by the way. I'm not calling you a walrus. But I feel like it keeps going. It gets to its new territory and like new people and new experiences. But if it goes back, it's like it might not even be accepted back into its old crowd or people because it left. And it might have left to like better its life or for legitimate reasons. But the message is like it needs to keep going, even if it feels like isolated, or it's in between like phases in its life, or in between territories or people, groups of friends, in between acceptance even, or jobs, whatever it is for you. It's not time to go back and potentially face like rejection, and then like having wasted time retracing your steps and having to go on the journey anyways. And then feeling even more lonely, if you're feeling lonely. Like it's this message to keep going, and to have fortitude like that, and to trust that Spirit will have you and see you through this journey. Like if you feel alone, you're not going to be alone forever. It's kind of a message as well. So hang in there. If you've been putting yourself in self-isolation, like in general right now, I feel like you can keep doing that as long as you feel called to, but I feel like it does have to stop eventually. Like eventually you probably have to come out into the world, probably kind of soon, honestly, like next couple months, within the next year or two. I know that's kind of seems like a long way out, but if for those of you, probably not going to be all of you, but in like self-isolation, like it's okay if you're doing that, but eventually when you feel called, like stop doing it to yourself is what I'd say. And there have definitely been times where I just put myself in self-isolation, where it's like I just need to step back from either certain people or all the people in my life, or that wasn't the right thing to say. I need to step back from like people in my life, or I need to step back just to kind of get clarity on like what's true for me, what do I need in my life, instead of having a bunch of different people trying to tell me different things just so I can get clear, for myself. But they'd like me to stop talking about that. So I was just trying to say, like, I understand. Like I'll do that sometimes myself, but it's not always healthy to do it like all the time. So just make sure you're trusting your intuition, like when to come out into the world and things like that. Or you'll know, because I feel like you'll feel like so lonely that you have to is something I'm getting as well. If that's you, that's like self-isolating. So going back to the hermit though, they want to go further into this here. In this scenario as well, in this message, the hermit needs to shine his light and stop like hiding it away from people. he might be tempted to hide his light away from people because he doesn't want people to look down on him for trying to shine. Or, an example that's popping in is like he don't want people to like hate him for doing well or hate him for having money. And I'm not trying to make it gendered, by the way. It's just, this is the thing coming up to represent you in the reading. This person might be afraid of exactly what I said, but I feel like this person needs to shine anyways and put themselves out there and be like okay with like potentially being hated for being great or for having the things they'd like to have, because one, just living your life trying to keep yourself down beneath other people's levels of like hate could be a little bit rough. It's just not going to serve you or them even, honestly. I feel like I talk about this topic. It comes up a relatively decent amount sometimes in these readings. But it's not serving that person. It's not serving the person that is hating. One, that person could be their self-hatred like projected outwards, and that's why they don't want other people to shine. They could just be jealous. They could have like a million, it's all their stuff, right? So the hermit keeping his light, or it's the hermit keeping their light hidden for another person's like jealousy or hatred or projection or judgment. It's really just hurting everyone and keeping the world small instead of opening up possibilities for the world. And even that person that's jealous, because that could be teaching that person like, oh, this is telling me that my life isn't where I'd like it to be. Because if it was everywhere I'd like it to be, I wouldn't be jealous of these people, or however that works. That might not have been the perfect way to explain every single instance of jealousy, but that vein, can be kind of a theme that runs with it. So make sure you're not hiding your light away or your success away or keeping yourself small for other people. Just as a message, it's hurting you. It's not helping anyone. So keep that in mind here. The last message, probably, there might be more actually, but they're showing me like a snake along with this hermit. This hermit might be tempted to stay into seclusion forever, but I do feel like he needs, he needs to come out into the world. So whenever you're ready, please do that. We did have a rainbow that showed up for the fire signs, and there is a rainbow showing up for the earth signs as well here. I almost get the message. Well, I do get the message. It sounds I'll just tell you what I'm hearing. The words I'm hearing are like, you need to live your best life. Like you can't keep that away from yourself. You will like resent everything and like everyone and yourself. So do your best to live your best life and move towards that and create that. And I'm not saying you need to, as in like, if something goes wrong in a manifestation or whatever you're trying to do, a project, like then you failed or something like that. It's more just like keep moving in that direction and don't hold that back for anything if you can help it. Like it's just not going to lead to good things. So make sure you're trying to move towards your best life as you see fit and as intuitively comes to you here. I know that was a lot of the same themes and messages for the earth signs. So I'm maybe that's just what you guys needed to hear today, or that was just what really needed to be spoken to. They're kind of telling me to probably close the reading a little bit soon here. Before I close it out though, I know they like to show like lollipops and things sometimes at the end of readings, but they're showing me this lollipop. It's a grape flavor. There's also like a lime flavor showing up too. As I go to close this out here. I don't know why I'm getting this message, but what they're showing is like there's this lollipop and it's like it's meant to symbolize like rewards. And this lollipop gets like tossed out of your hand, or like it looks like someone's about to hand it to you. They're kind of being mean in this visual, but they like rub like a bunch of gravel on it and throw it on the ground and like stomp on it. And like the words I hear are like, don't expect rewards, work for them. So there might be a little bit of a thing where maybe there's some expectation of rewards instead of like working for them going on. And I'm not trying to say you don't deserve rewards, because you probably do, honestly. You're definitely worthy of them. It's not like you're not worthy of it thing. But sometimes in life we do have to have a certain amount of like grit or determination or willingness to work for what's ours a little bit. it would be really nice if the universe just handed us everything. And sometimes it does. Sometimes it really does hand us blessings and really amazing things. And I would be really appreciative of it if that's happening for you, or whenever it does happen for you. But sometimes for certain like positions or things, like we do kind of perhaps have to work for things or put the effort in. So anywhere you catch yourself like expecting a reward, I would kind of sit with like, okay, so it's definitely valid that like I really desire this, and it's valid that I've probably been through a lot or might have already put a lot of effort into something, but am I expecting this, or am I putting enough effort in to legitimately have this thing, depending on the circumstance or what it is? And just see what you intuitively get, or what you feel as you sit with it. Because you might be feeling like, there is some more work I could put into this to bring this into my world. And for others of you, there might be rewards coming in, but there just might be a little bit more work or action that needs to be put into having them, if that makes sense. And I'm definitely not trying to put a carrot on a stick or anything here. It's just what they're telling me. And I feel like it'd be a much greater disservice to be like, yeah, rewards are coming in, don't do anything, than it would be to tell you what I'm actually doing. So I know that's not a fun message, but hopefully it's helpful and is what you need to hear, and does what's for the highest good for you. Regardless. And I'm not saying there won't be rewards that just come in, but you hear me, hopefully. So I believe that's it. The last message is just to make sure you're not like, make sure you're not just listening to everyone else in your life about what to do with your life. Make sure you're listening to your soul with what's really drawing to you, to the universe. Make sure you're taking the right steps. I don't think it's intentional, and there might be some people in your personal life that might be but might be like saying things that might lead you astray. And the last thing I want to do is make you paranoid about people in your life. So take it in a balanced way, please. But what I'll say is, like, if there's someone who's giving you advice and it's consistently like going badly, like stop taking their advice. If you're like feeling one way and you feel like the universe is telling you something and someone else is saying something else, like listen to the universe, listen to the signs, listen to your intuition, like really trust your soul and yourself on it. It's just a reminder to trust your intuition and that over random people who in your personal life who may or may not like realize what's best for you. So do I need to balance that message before I leave it off there? I feel like the way to balance this message is, if someone's advice consistently keeps working for you, like cool, you can listen to them. If you feel like there's someone who's consistently leading you astray, like, okay, maybe it's time to take a more balanced approach to what they're saying, or take what they're saying with a grain of salt and trust yourself over that person is how I'd balance that. And if you're not sure yet, then maybe just ask the universe for a sign to validate advice someone's giving you, or clarity on what's going on, and listen to that over just blindly accepting people's advice right now, if that makes sense. So I feel like they're done with that reading, so I hope that helped, resonated, whatever was for you guys good. So we're going to move on to the next reading in a second here. I'm going to hang out with y'all. I might have to go get some more water because I blasted through my 16 ounces in the mug here. So, yep, needed to hear all that. Let me get some gauze to handle this reading because sheesh, hopefully is helpful for your highest good, leading you in the best directions, for sure. Definitely. I don't know if I want to say I'm sorry if it wasn't a fun reading, but yeah. Needed to hear and appreciate it, Brandon. You're welcome. I'm glad to hear it. So synchronistic. Perfect. They know we stubborn, so we got to hear the same thing 12 different ways. Sorry, I'm reading back some of the other previous comments, but that's funny. Oh, interesting. I just watched a Planet Earth episode about a mother walrus and her pup needing to find a new group. That's super synchronistic. Definitely pay attention to that. It was a great needed reading. Perfect. And that's my intention. So perfect. Lemon Andy, I'm glad to hear it. That's good encouragement. And then it was helpful. I always need to hear it a few times. I hear it, sometimes same. Sometimes same. So I'm being told I need to go get water. So I'm going to go get water really quickly. And I really dislike taking intermissions in the lives, but it's probably better than like going all raspy on you for the next 2 hours or however long we're going to be here. So I'm going to be right back in just like a couple minutes. And give me 1 second. Thank you for your patience. Excuse me. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Marina. I appreciate it. Oof. You're welcome, Suji. If I'm saying that correctly. No, take your hair. I always find that very cool and appreciate it, and perhaps even feel humbled when people. I do feel like it also makes sense now that I am feeling into it. But people take notes. I just feel like that's a really great compliment. Hey, Jessica, good to see ya. I'm glad to see you too, and I really appreciate that you love being here. That means so much. So I'm just gonna hang out with you guys for a second, and then we're gonna switch to the air signs reading, and then we'll do other things. Whew. Cowtippa says you always provide relevant information. Thank you. I appreciate that feedback. Oh, thanks, Bree. We have not done water yet, SSJ. That will come up. We're going to do air and then we'll do water. So that's coming up in the future. Good evening, Mona Lynn Taylor. Hope you're doing great. Kate, what do you enjoy the most about what you do? The impact I get to have, for the highest good is what I'd say is one of the things I really enjoy the most about what I do. How it gets to impact people for the highest good. Whether it's bringing healing or, whatever it is. I'd say that's one of the number one things that I enjoy the most about what I do. and I suppose like the reason I know that impacting for the highest good is what happens is because of the feedback that I get. So I really I'm not trying to ask you guys for feedback. I'm just that I don't know why it popped in that I needed to say that, but it did. So that's one of the things I enjoy for sure. Doing beautifully. Great. I'm glad you're doing beautifully. Got my water too. Perfect. Water party. How was my week? It was good. I was talking about it earlier in the live, but I did take just a break this past week. I really needed it. So I feel like there are just going to be some changes upcoming that I'll need to make with my work, with this work. So maybe, I don't know about literally this, but we'll see. I haven't landed on everything, but I feel like that's coming pretty quickly. It could even come in today, after the live. So, but other than that, good. And how was your week? I hope your week has been good, and everyone's week has been good, of course, too. Great question. I agree. Great answer. Thank you. Is it typically just elements? No judgment, new here. Yeah, no, none taken. For this iteration of the live that I'm currently doing, yeah, I do like a collective for everybody, and then we do the elements, and then there's a full channel mode. I just direct channeling session I'll do at the end as well. Just to see what, Source, the angels, and spirit guides would like to bring through, like in that way. Yeah, so right now it is. I might do it differently, but we'll see in the future what they have me do or change it up, or how they have me change it up or whatever. Okay, so oh, thank you, SSJ. I appreciate that. Heck yeah, Ruda. You have vacation this week. Have a beautiful vacation. Oh, it was the past week, so you're resting from that. Okay, I think I understand. You had a vacation. You're resting from the vacation. I understand. That's awesome. Hey, Kay. So they would like me to start air signs now. So if you have an air sign, sun, moon, or rising, this is for you when you see it. I'm going to take a swig of water. So the first message they have for the air signs is that there's flow returning to your life, is the first thing I'm hearing. If you've been feeling, give me 1 second here. If you've been feeling like left out in the cold, or things just haven't been flowing, I feel like there's like, it's weird because they're showing like electricity being added back into your life. Like things are like sparking to life again, or moving forward again. So you're going to have a bit more forward movements, or just a bit more healing. So you're going to have more flow in your life. I do get a message like there are certain like blocks being removed. That's not always like the lingo or the vocabulary I tend to employ with these. Like, I think like the word blocks can be a bit like maybe even misunderstood, or and if you use that word, I'm not saying you must understand it, but I think it gets thrown around a lot, like especially in like readings or metaphysical things. So I hesitate to use it, but it's the word I'm hearing for this instance. Like there might have just been some blocks that were wreaking some havoc, and I feel like that's being removed. So that's good. Like in the next week or so, whether you're getting a healing session and someone's going to help facilitate that, or it's just the way your life's playing out, the universe is conspiring to do that through events, or maybe it's happening while you're dreaming and processing things. But something's happening where you're either processing these blocks and getting them removed, or something's happening. So that's good as well. I'm getting this message like you have been trying to do the impossible in some level. As far as like what that actually means, like is when I get asked for clarification, some of you have been trying to do something that seems impossible to you, like even if it's just like a goal or something, or like a target you're trying to achieve, or maybe you've been like trying to work through something that seems impossible. I feel like you're actually going to make it through. I also get this weird message like, like nothing's really impossible. Like there are weird ways the universe can work to kind of make anything possible in a certain way. And I don't mean that in a weird, ungrounded way. I hopefully you're picking up on the energy of what I'm saying when I say that. But I feel like, what's the best way to say this? I feel like you're like either working on something that seems impossible, but it's not, or you're going to see possibilities where there haven't been any for you. Like things have seemed a bit more impossible for some reason, but it actually wasn't. So weird message, but I feel like there are just possibilities awakening for the air signs for you guys about right now. And again, if flow's returning, you're going to be able to move forward. So jokingly, it almost kind of sounds like one of those Instagram posts where it's like, your blocks are removed, the flow is returning, $10 million is about to land in your bank account. Comment amen to claim. Also follow me and send me $10,000. Also, yeah, I'm just kidding. I hate those posts. It doesn't sound like it, but it almost like some of the messages are almost sounding a little bit like that. But I trust my guides over random Instagram people who are trying to just get their algorithm boost from the comments and having people type amen or whatever. So let's move on to the next message they have for you. So I know we talked about there's a bunch of different fish showing up. We had like salmon show up in the one of the last two readings. And for you guys, like specifically it's a trout is what's showing up for you guys. And there's almost this message about like deep lake or deep ocean or sea fishing here. So let me see what the message is with this visual they're showing me here. So the positive message for you guys is like there are these like difficult catches that are coming. And so I'm going to need to clarify that, of course. If you've ever gone fishing or watched fishing or you know, if you know a certain amount about it, there are just certain fish that tend to be more difficult to catch than others, whether it's more difficult to locate them or it just takes longer and more effort to reel them in, or it takes a stronger line of fishing line to reel it in or anything like that. I feel like you're about to start hauling in things that are a little bit more difficult to catch. So I don't feel like this is 100%. Sorry, I'm about to say something and I'm trying to like make it land properly. Like maybe you kept like catching things, but they're more like easy catches. And I'm not saying that, what's the best way to say this? I'm so sorry. I'm getting a little bit lost in the words here, but what's the best way to say this? Maybe certain things have been a bit easy, but they haven't been what you've wanted, if that makes sense. Or you've been like reeling in a bunch of fish or metaphorical catches. And by catches, metaphorically, I mean like hitting certain goals or targets, manifestations, like maybe it's like getting certain promotions even, or positions or something like that, landing a certain person to date. Like it could be a number of different things here. But and like you've been landing these fish and it's like, that's not exactly what you've wanted. You're like, okay, this is nice. It's cool that I caught this like fish and I guess I can eat this fish tonight. But I really wanted to catch this rare, mysterious trout, the legendary trout at the bottom of Lake Ontario or whatever. I don't even know if there are trout in Lake Ontario, but I think there are. I feel like you're about to get the opportunity to catch bigger fish, or you're going to start reeling them in and like having like bigger manifestations show up, or the opportunity for it at least. So I feel like that's a positive message overall. You've probably already put the work in for this is something I'm getting, or you're going to. So I just feel like it's time for bigger fish is really the message I'm getting for you regarding this one with all the fish and catching fish and things like that. In it, what I'm hearing, I don't want to put this on you, or I hesitate to put this out there, but it's what I'm hearing, so I need to trust it. It's like there might be a little bit more difficulty in like reeling this in, or it might take a bit more effort, but it's going to be more rewarding, and you're going to have like bigger things coming about because of it, if that makes sense. And like an example that's showing up as far as like what this could be, in addition to what I've already said, is like maybe you've been going on these like series of dates or dating this like certain caliber of person, for example. And maybe it hasn't been exactly what you've wanted, but there were like things you wanted, but it was more like the warm up before you get like the big catch you actually desire. Or it's like, here are these relationship lessons you're getting and these different people you're dating. And now that you've learned these and you can, again, like hold this bigger manifestation, or you're not just going to ruin it because, because you're like unpracticed in relationships or something like that. It's a weird phrase. It's like, now you get to this chance to reel in this bigger catch, or go on this date with someone that's more like the caliber you've been looking for, etc. And caliber could even just be like kindness. It doesn't have to be like the 10 million billionaire who is a Buddha that flies or something. I'm borrowing that from a phrase. I have to explain it now. They're telling me to tell you. There was I had this friend back in the day. This had to be like 10 years ago. And he was kind of poking fun at these different like elephant journal articles, because like he'd read, if you remember Elephant Journal, sometimes there would be these posts about like what woman would want, and it would be this it would be a little bit ridiculous, if I'm being honest. It'd be like this huge laundry list of like and his joke would be like, what's up with all these women in Elephant Journal who the ideal man is a Buddha that flies, or something like that, like these really almost impossible standards. And I understand like you could flip it and be like, society has a lot of impossible standards for women. I totally understand that as well. But as far as what I was actually trying to say with this reading here is maybe you will get a chance to have a Buddha that flies. I don't know, or like metaphorically, or maybe you get the Buddha and they don't fly, or they fly but they're not a Buddha. I don't know, but you're just gonna have a chance for a bigger fish. So before I go on and on and on about this fish, let's see what else I'd like to say here, or what other messages, or if they'd like to go further with that here. Fully, that's good here. And by the way, I feel like I'm not trying to like call you out if you're a woman here and you have high standards in men, or you're looking for something. I think if you read those particular like articles, you'd probably get it. Like it's it's very very interesting. But let's move on here. Speaking of like things to do with, I guess, more stereotypical like men. There's nothing wrong with men who drive pickup trucks, by the way. I kind of like pickup trucks too. I don't drive one, but they're showing me a pickup truck next here, and they're showing me this cowboy. And let me see what the message is here on this thing. So interestingly enough, in this visual, there's this cowboy. He's driving like a pickup truck. He's used to this like rugged like cowboy life, but he's actually, in this scenario, he's kind of like tired of it, or he's like tired of, I'm not trying to make commentary. Here's the message. I'm getting to it. He's tired of this like image or something he's trying to uphold. And he actually wants to like sell his like truck in his land and move to the city and like drink Starbucks and like write poetry or something like that. So you might be going through a major change yourself. That's not literally that. Maybe it is for some of you, but it's similar to that, where it's like you've been this like certain type of way your whole life, but you're kind of like sick of it, and maybe it's even been about an image on some level. I'm not sure all of you are just working to uphold an image. I don't think that's this crowd, honestly, but maybe on some level, like that's true. You know, it doesn't have to be like that was your whole personality. But I digress. Coming back to the reading and the messages here. Maybe you're like making a drastic change like that in yourself, where you've been one type of way and that's been like your identity, but you're shedding that and becoming something else that really calls to your soul a bit more. And I'm not saying anything with like a past phase has been like wrong, or that you were the wrong person, or there's anything wrong with that, because you might have been gaining something, or your soul might have been gaining something through that identity, or around you having that identity. Again, maybe you're like, you were like a metalhead, and now you would like to do ballet and write poetry and live naked in the woods or something. I don't know. Because you could kind of do all those things and be a metalhead, but hopefully you kind of understand what I'm trying to say with this. Let's get back to the heart of the message here. If you're going through that, I feel like it's a good move, is what I'm trying to say. And it's okay to do that. So let's move on to the next thing. They're showing me goldfish, like the snack, the crackers. I think they have goldfish outside of the US. But if they don't, well, maybe Google it or something, it'll make more sense. But let's see what's up with this goldfish here. This goldfish, so if you're not familiar with goldfish, if I'd assume most of you are, but just in case, they are these like fish shaped like cheddar cracker things, and they always have like a smile on them, I think. And this goldfish in this example here is like tired of smiling. Or it's almost like he's putting on a happy face or putting on an act. But I feel like it's time for the act to drop, and it's time for this goldfish to be who it really is. Even if it's like pissed off, like it's time to like own that emotion and not like throw it around at everyone, but like acknowledge it's there and like process it, if that makes sense. And I guess be a more balanced person instead of trying to wear a mask to present yourself a certain way, even if you feel like you're gaining from it. I feel like one way I'm getting this to say this is like there's a lot more authenticity rising, and you're being called to be even more authentic. And again, I'm not trying to call you inauthentic, but I feel like you're seeing like where you've been inauthentic or where you're being that and starting to change that, which is good here. And I do feel like if you have been putting on an act, it's time to like stop putting on an act and like really like own who you are. And like it doesn't mean like bashing people over the head with like I'm angry, but just being a bit more honest about like how you're feeling or your emotions, or if you have like a friend who always says this one thing and it always annoys you, like it might be time to be like, hey, like can I be really honest with you, like it does really annoy me like when you do this, and like just be more upfront about it or honest with it, because I feel like that's going to start changing your world. And I feel like that could even be like, if we were talking about blocks, one of the blocks that needs to be removed is anywhere you might feel like you're being inauthentic. And I feel like it will help you shine more by allowing that to rise. And I feel like it'll be like a huge like burden off your back as well, and a big relief to finally like allow this authenticity to shine. So this like message might not be readily apparent for all of you. I feel like for about 20% of you, it's not going to make sense. And that's okay. But if anything eeps into your awareness over the coming weeks of like, oh, I'm like pretending to be okay at work and I really need to quit this job, like that could be like the authenticity rising, if that makes sense. And others of you kind of get it. I'm not trying to like call you bad or call you out. It's just like, this could be a piece of your puzzle that could help you, is allowing this authenticity through more. And sometimes we're trained into inauthenticity, or maybe in our childhood we were punished whenever we were authentic, and so now we think we have to mask certain things. So it's not like you're wrong, that's just the advice that's coming through for you, to kind of help you out right now. There is a bit more with this goldfish though. We're not done here. Some of you, because they're showing this next goldfish as like a rainbow goldfish, and the next message is like some of you would be really, really good to like fly your true colors. Again, what I'm not saying is if you're like an angry person that you need to go be a volcano on everybody. But I'll try to get them to clarify a bit more what they mean if you guys need it. But some of you really might have been like dumbing yourself down for others, or again, like dimming your light for others, out of fear of how they might react. And it's really time to stop doing that if you feel like you're doing that, like and allowing your true colors to shine. Like even if you're like a genius and you felt like you've had to be dumb to other people so they'd accept you, or maybe it has to do with being more openly spiritual and you've been like hiding that away from people. If you feel like it's time, by the way, you don't have to force that if it doesn't feel right. But you kind of know the gist, hopefully, of what I'm saying, where it's like it's time to allow your true colors to shine in every area to the amounts that are right for you and that you feel safe to do right now, and allow your life to readjust. What's the best way to say this here? Some of you have just been hiding yourselves, and it's time to stop doing that, especially in like close relationships that mean a lot to you, even job settings, or I'm hesitant on that last one. If you know what this means for you, perfect. I feel like I'm not clarifying it as well as I could be. So regarding some of the things I'm saying, there's one more thing I need to say though. I feel like it's really has to do with like being honest with people, either about who you are or like what you need or how they're affecting you or things like that, if you feel called to it. Because I'm iffy on that, some of that. So sorry about that. Let's move on to the next phase here so we can get more just concrete messages for you. But they're showing me this like rock salt next. There's like a Himalayan salt lamp is something they're showing me as well. I don't mean this. If you've been like salty in some area, one of the recommendations is to maybe look at that a little bit and work on that a little bit if you feel called, or stop here. It's more if you're like overly salty in certain areas, because I feel like the universe really does have good things in store for you and like amazing people that will be coming in and things like that. But some of like, if you're having like any saltiness about the past, like that could in some ways like maybe delay it, if that makes sense, or like hold it back from you is what I'm hearing. And I don't want you to be like afraid and again like mask up about it. It's more like because I know we just talked about like processing anger. Like if you're like angry at the world, it might be time to sit with healing that. Because it could just like delay the things that are meant to come in for you, if that makes sense. I don't think you're gonna like lose them or miss out or anything crazy like that. I think it's just like sometimes people are going to be around us when we're ready for them to be around us, if that makes sense, even if it's like an upgrade or an improved version of the past or something like that. So I would do your best to work through any saltiness you might be going through or like over saltiness. And again, maybe that saltiness was serving you for a time, but I feel like it's time to look at that and potentially let that go if you feel it's time to. So we're moving back to the rainbow. Rainbow's been showing up for like almost every reading thus far, so that's not a bad thing here. I feel like this rainbow is like painted on a wall. It's like painted over this like blue scenery. It almost looks like something that's in a school hallway. You know how like they'll post or they'll paint like murals on certain parts of like school hallways or classrooms or things like that, or at like certain work sites. I know I've said this a million times, so I guess I'll get it out one more time and see how they want to change it from there. But there is just really this big message to be who you are and like own that. And like do your best not to let anyone take that away from you, even if you feel like there might be a cost associated with that, because the cost will be like, you'll get the cost paid back to you like 10 times over, you know, if there's a cost to being who you truly are in this world. And it's almost kind of like you're living a fake life if you're being someone you're not and attracting what is for that person instead of what's for who you really are, and going where you're celebrated, to use that phrase, I suppose you could say. So make sure you're really honoring, celebrating being who you are in this world to attract what's for you, especially like, of course, like if there's a place where you feel unsafe to do that, like honor that, like do what you have to do to change things before it's, you know, so it's safe for you to do that. But it's just a message that's coming out here. I feel like I said a lot of the same things, but hopefully this resonated, was helpful. I'm not sure why we're on that kick today, but they're kind of indicating maybe it's time to close this reading soon. I'm going to sit with any last second messages that would be nice to come through before we close it out here. They're just kind of closing out. Like there are a lot of good things coming in for you guys for the air signs here, Sun, Moon, or Rising, but you just be a little bit patient. None of these messages today were meant to like beat up on you, but just to help you make the changes you need to make. But I actually do feel like in general, you're going to be in a better place soon, like next couple months, next 6 months, even like you're on that trajectory. So congrats on that. And I really hope this was helpful, resonated, did what was for last kids. So we're going to move forward here to the water signs in a second after I chat with y'all for a second. So helpful. Perfect, Jillian. You're welcome, Amy. You are welcome. Totally helpful. Perfection. Thank you for letting me know, CJ. Ooh. Baby doll says, thank you. Been feeling as if my luck is diminishing. You're welcome. I don't feel like it will, or you'll get it back, or something will change, you know. I know this sounds a little bit weird, and maybe even trite, but sometimes things go wrong to go right. I feel like, what's the movie Cars where the character talks about turning right to go left or something like that? But it's funny because I have been salty. It happens, you know? It happens, but hopefully this helps in some way. Or 9 great lives, I do get yes, because you're asking if you should look into school. If you feel called to it. It happens. Totally, Esperanza. You said you're definitely feeling called to be your authentic, quirky self with those outside of your small circle. Totally. You know what? That could just attract more. More people, more love, more things for you. And what I hear for you is like, if people don't get that, they actually should. They should get it. You know what? It's funny sometimes, because sometimes we hold ourselves back for fear of maybe not being loved. But when we kind of unleash ourselves, we're actually loved more, like, you know, like your quirky self or things like that, or you stand out in the right ways. And even if some people don't like it, they're not really your people. So it's, I don't know. I did manage to keep myself from being mouthy though. Hey, that's a win. That is a win. Is air done? Can't see the sign. Yes, air is completed. But if you missed your element, I will be reposting it on YouTube this week. I do try to repost it like Monday, but the past while I've been a little bit delayed on that. So hopefully I'll get back on a better swing with that. But so Jessica Johnson asks, does their saltiness serve them? What if it's a part of their authenticity? I am getting a no. It's just like the quick answer to the question. There was like a recommendation of like really sit with like, okay, like for yourself, like, is this serving me? Because it could have been a pattern you built up to cope with certain things, or maybe even to like keep certain people at bay as like a boundary. And maybe it's, gonna sneeze, served you for it. Excuse me. Sorry. For a time in a certain level. I feel like no, though. I keep getting a no. Because I think we can uphold boundaries without being salty. But I feel like it could have been like a pattern, or maybe like it's something to unlearn, if that makes sense, or maybe even something we picked up from someone else on some level. But I feel like it's something that people can be trained into in this world, is what I'm kind of getting as well. Because I think it can be a common pattern in people, and they're trained into it. I'm not saying this is what happened to you, but people can be trained into it by the news or by the way other people look at things, and we kind of get a little bit cynical or things like that. And I honestly, I understand as well. I've had my moments as well, and my guys are like, yes, you have. So there we go. Or maybe like just areas where it's like I'm really good in like all these other areas of my life, and then it's like this one thing I'm like, salty grandpa rises, salty grandpa destroys. But I don't know. You understand what I'm saying, but I'd really sit with it and just see if it's like feels light to you and true for you that it's serving you, or if it's serving you anymore, or serving you if you go forward. So. Because it could have been, but I just keep getting no every time I say it could have been. So I feel like saltiness can be part of your authenticity if it's something you're processing or you're acknowledging. It's like an emotion that's there, but it also doesn't have to be your identity or like who you've become. Rather than something you're experiencing or something you're processing, if that makes sense, or something that's rising as a part of something you're processing. And maybe that wasn't totally dead on what I just said, but maybe that's starting to hit the vein a bit on what's going on with saltiness. They would like me to answer this. I'd recently upheld my boundaries without being salty, and it turned into a magical experience. Awesome. No, that's awesome. And I'm also not trying to say anyone's bad or wrong for being salty. I just anyways, Marina asks, any lunar insights from your from my spirit guides for any lunar insights from your spirit guides for tomorrow. So let me see what they'd like to say about the lunar insights for tomorrow. They might like loop it into the full channel, or they might even do a full channel now before we get to the water signs. Let me see what they'd like to do for this one here. I mean, it sounds it sounds a little bit, simple, because one of the things that's coming through is definitely like processing of emotions. There should be like a really interesting visual as well, where it's I don't know what the right word is, but I think there's a type of like mining called fracking, or maybe that's something to do with oil. Or I don't know how to quantify this, but let me sit with it for a second and see what the way to say this is. Because it almost looks like strip mining a little bit here. I feel like people might be feeling a little bit like exposed, honestly, emotionally, or like a certain layer has been ripped away for many people regarding this. I feel like what was ripped away though was like old soot, or it's like I don't know, you go about your what's the best way to say this? There's that like concept called, and it sounds silly, but I think it's like the horny layer that's on people's skin. And it's like if you shower every day, like you're constantly like washing it away. But if you like shower every other day, it's supposed to allow this like layer of the skin to be there. And it's supposed to be more like protective and like actually healthy for your skin, I think. And I'm not saying to go like 20 weeks without showering or anything like that, but it's one of the things or ideas that's out there, I suppose. And it's almost like something akin to that is being like washed away, but it's like it's actually something that needs to go. It's like maybe it's been like not literally by the way, but too long between showers in this metaphor, and someone needs to kind of wash the soot away and wash some of like the sweats from their hard work away and things like that. So you might feel a little bit exposed to people in some way, whether that's just like emotionally, like you're feeling a bit raw, or like maybe something happens and something gets exposed and some truth comes out. You're like, oh, I'm feeling a little bit exposed here. But it doesn't have to be a bad thing. I feel like it's like a necessary truth. If something like that happens, that could come out, that would be like really good. Or it just leads to a better outcome overall in the long run here. There's definitely more with it. I feel like this word shows up all the time, so I hesitate to use it. But the other word I hear is like transition. I feel like some of what's coming up with this moon, what I'm hearing is like finalizing certain transitions. And this could be very internal. Like maybe you've been going through a transformation or this new upgrade, or things been being slid into place. And it's like this moon upcoming could like finalize it a little bit or help further that along. If you're making like an external or outer transition in your life, it either could like help finalize that or just bring greater detail into like what you need to do or what's coming up with that transition or things like that. Some of you, I know this is turning into a reading a little bit, which I guess is kind of the purpose, but if you're feeling like forced into a transition, it's like it's necessary. Like there's a reason it has to happen. It's not for nothing. So I'd really like trust that. If any of you are feeling forced into that now or with the moon or in the next little while here, because I do feel like one of the themes is transition, and like it's transitioning ourselves, it's transitioning phases, it's maybe even transitioning who we are a little bit on a certain level as well. But I think it can depend a little bit on where you're at as far as like how deep that goes or on what level or layer that's playing out for you, and if that makes sense. So I feel like this moon is about like stripping things away, laying certain things bare, helping people move forward in a better way as a result, if that makes sense. And I don't feel like I'm still hitting it all, but there could be other things going on in the astrology that would change that up, if that makes sense. Yeah, this was supposed to be about tomorrow's moon. Sorry. Some of the things going on. use saltiness like season, sprinkle it to taste. That's pretty perfect. I like that. They might bring more lunar insights into like the full channel mode message, probably after we do the water signs reading. They might add that in. And it could just be up like a part of the energies right now is why they might do that. But Jillian says it's been feeling like something wants to be birthed. And what I instantly heard when I read that is like, oh yeah, that's over the next few months. So at least for you, I feel like that's going to be over the next few months, like whether it's artistic or whatever it ends up being. I've been feeling like it might maybe go through a second awakening if it's even possible, says Milano. I do get it is possible. I feel like you probably will at a certain place here. So I feel like that is going to happen. So they'd like me to start the water signs reading, and I think everyone's antsy about the moon. We want to hear about the moon. But sorry, I don't know if that's even true. I'm getting all goofy now. So if you have a water sign, sun, moon, or rising, this is for you when you see it. I'm going to pull cat hair off of the tape because originally I was going to tape these on the wall, but I really don't like peeling up paint. So someone had the really brilliant idea of just putting it right here. So I do that now. So for the water sign, sun, moon, or rising, I get the best belly baths from these readings. I love it. I so appreciate that. I'm so glad to hear it. So we're starting the water signs. So if you have a sun, moon, or rising, that's a water sign. It's for you whenever you see it, whether it's live now or later on YouTube. And let's just flow with the messages coming in. But the first thing they keep showing me is a tarantula, and the message is about shedding skin for you guys. Some of you might be like afraid of tarantulas. You're like, icky, I hate tarantulas. But it's a good message overall, so bear with me. I don't think the huntsman spider is going to travel from Australia and fall on you in the middle of the night, with this message or anything. But the first message is that like you are shedding skin, or you're going to be like very drastically, is something I'm hearing, like soon, like even the next few weeks. Like you might feel like a whole new person even like soon, or maybe you've been in this process and it like finalizes soon, which we were kind of just talking about before the reading in the live. But this, for you guys, it seems like it's a really big time of like shedding skin, like getting rid of, as trite as it might sound, getting rid of they hate when I quantify things with trite, so I'm going to stop. Getting rid of the old you. And sometimes that can be a painful process. I'm not saying that's coming up, but if you've already been in it for like long periods of time, when it's like really drastic or it's really fast, or you're feeling like you have to let go of a lot, it doesn't have to be painful, but I feel like that's acknowledging that for anyone who's like been going through what seems like a painful transformation or anything like that. I feel like it's almost over if it's been like a painful transformation, by the way. I do feel like you have bigger things ahead, which is like why this transformation is happening, like a big change, like you have a bigger job or a bigger role to play in the universe, or even in your personal, external life, whatever part of this life or all of it, I really feel like the universe has been preparing you for the bigger roles, bigger tasks, whatever it is that's you're being transformed for. And some of you are just ready for a new destiny is what's coming in as well, like a higher calling. Like you thought you were heading one way and you kind of were, but maybe like timelines change and you get like a bigger destiny, or something happens where the universe is like, wait, we need to give them this new bigger thing instead. So we need to redirect them a little bit. Or maybe there's something that was another example that's showing up for others of you is maybe there was like something that was meant to be a part of your destiny, and you were like rocketing towards this like other goal or dream, and you were kind of like bypassing this thing that was supposed to be in your world. And it's like a good thing, like this reward or this thing you're supposed to have. So they're like sending you through this like delay or necessary transformation so you can have like all you're meant to have, and not just like this laser focus like target or goal or dream you've been having and aiming towards to bring in, because you might be missing out on a lot in your world if it's not like whole and like holistic and carry something for you in every area of your life. If you're like very laser focused on like a dream or like a business or work or a person or whatever it is you're trying to bring in or whatever. So if there are delays, if this is resonating for you, this iteration of the message here, it could be bringing in more like holistic well-being for you, where it's more like every area has something for you instead of just one. And it could even be causing you to slow down to have more in your world and like look at your world and be like, oh, I didn't realize like this area was like empty and I need to like dust the cobwebs away and make sure it's like ready for the right thing when it comes in instead of just laser focusing on attaining this thing, if that makes sense. So some of you, the transformation is about that and having more in every area, not just one. For others of you still, Spider like is a sign for you. I feel like it's positive, by the way, in this iteration as well. I feel like that is a sign things are transforming. Probably not the most stereotypical sign for transformation, but if you're seeing like a lot of spiders on social media, or I personally like I used to have like pretty severe arachnophobia and it still flares up sometimes. There are times where I like spider. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Let me just catch the spider, put it outside. And there's others where I'm like, oh my God. So I don't know. Maybe if you're cool with spiders, you might have like a spider in your bedroom that you see in the corner. You're like, oh, hello, little friends. Or something like that. So I feel like that's a sign of transformation for you. And like, I also feel like it's a sign of like the web being woven in the right direction for you to have or capture what's meant for you. And again, not just one thing you've been laser focused on. So we're moving to a mountain again. Mountain came through for the earth signs. So I guess if you have both of those, maybe pay attention. If not, then just whatever. I'm just take it as your it's resonating, I guess. But this mountain's showing up for you guys here. But this mountain's actually like underwater. And you know how like volcanoes will like form mountains underwater and then they become islands on land and all that stuff here. You might have challenges that seem challenging, but they're actually not, because metaphorically they're like underwater. So it's much easier for you to just like swim over an underwater mountain, at least as a human, than it is for you to like climb a mountain on land, for example. So you might be seeing this task that like spirit has for you, whether it's in business or maybe it's even like something to do with your health that you need to work on, or well-being or something. I'm not a doctor, by the way, legal disclaimer, but and it looks really challenging. Like maybe you need to start, this is an example, I'm not saying this is what you have to do, but as an example, you need to start like lifting weights. You're like, oh my God. But it's like, it'd be really easy once you got in the swing of it. Or you need to change your business. You're like, oh my God, it looks like this mountain, but it's like, you just have to put on your flippers and your scuba gear and just swim. Like it's nothing. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something you have to deal with, but it's not like your trek up Mount Everest or something like that. So if there are some challenges that look intimidating in the future or like right now, you might be like putting things off that look challenging that actually aren't. And I'd really kind of take stock on that and they make sure things are actually as challenging as they seem before you write them off and don't do them, if that makes sense. But I feel like one thing they're saying is like, if you're overcoming challenges with ease, you're heading in the right direction. Not to say if you're overcoming difficult challenges, you're heading in the wrong direction. I just feel like, one sign you're heading in the right direction is like certain challenges become easier. And it could even be like, it seems unrelated. Like, maybe you're like trying to make this job happen and like you keep running into obstacles, maybe even in like other areas of your life. And then like you kind of listen to the universe, like, okay, I think I'll go to this other thing that the universe seems to be telling me to go to. And then all of a sudden, like every area, like the challenges are a little like they just lessen, or get easier. And I know that sounds weird, but sometimes there are signs like that and that's what happens. And I don't know. I channel the messages. But anyways, let's go back to the next. Let's go to the next thing they'd like to get to here. Unless they wanted me to go back to something here. I feel like some of you have been going through some very difficult challenges and Spirit would like to acknowledge that as something I'm getting. Like you're not crazy. I feel like you're not alone. Like I feel like the angels are helping you, or you'll have a lot more help, at least in the etheric, to like get over like things that have been a bit more difficult. And again, if that's you and you feel like you're making the right moves or heading in the right direction and things aren't getting easier, you, like I kind of said earlier in either this reading or a different one, like you might just be getting prepared for something. Or it's just the last vestiges of some like clearing you're doing so you can have like better things start to show up, if that makes sense. I hesitate to put this out there, and this isn't my typical like perspective on it, but maybe it's something that'll resonate for you, and that's why I'm being called to say it. Or maybe you watched another reading that said this and it's going to line up with that, and that's why they're having me say it this way. But maybe it's like some type of like karma clearing, where it's like a difficult challenge, but it's like the last vestiges of this clearing, and then like things get really good or something like that. So weird message, but hopefully that makes sense for those of you who are going through that. Anyways, let's move on. There should be a coral reef next here. I feel like this coral reef is like dried out, or like the water is kind of like rescinded from it, but in some way like this coral reef is like still alive. So like there's weirdly still like fish living in it and like these little pools of water. So what's the message here for you regarding this coral reef here? It's about resiliency. There are potentially certain things you've been through that maybe not every single person could have handled. I believe most coral reefs probably die once they're not in the water, for example. But this one's still like kicking and it's just like waiting for the water to come back or whatever. And so what else do they need is for that's going to be said here. I don't know why I'm still on this message, but I feel like you will overcome challenges if they've been more difficult. And, you know, eventually I feel like the water is restored. Like this coral reef isn't going to be like forced into this position forever, if that makes sense. If it's like straining to be alive, or seems like it's fighting the current to stay alive metaphorically, or anything like that. So I would really hang in there. Like it's not forever that this coral reef has to be out of water, I guess is the message. You know, sometimes it's just a phase and then it's over. So try not to think that'll be the rest of your life and just give up or anything like that, if that's something that's going on for any of you here. There is a message regarding like the fish living in the coral reef still here. So what's up with that here? One message is like, if you are providing for others in any way, shape, or form, and it's going to be probably in a way that's like for the highest good, not in a way that's like draining you, because the coral reef does like in a way provide for fish. I think like it gives some of the fish like protection or a home. So it is sort of providing in a way. I mean, it doesn't even have to be directly, but if you're like providing for others, I feel like you are going to be provided for or like taken care of in some way, or you'll have the opportunity to more easily provide for yourself and thus, I suppose, the people you're providing for. So I don't know who needs to hear this, but you're not going to get like left out in the cold if you're like providing for others. And, you know, I don't want you to think like, oh, I'm not providing for anyone, I'm about to be left out in the cold. Like, no, this is like more specifically just for those people that are like going through anything where they need to hear that message. So we're on this like ocean kick here, which I know with the water signs, they like to be punny sometimes, but they're showing me I think it's a clownfish or a lionfish, which are two very different fish. But let me sit with this for a second here. It's like a clownfish here as well, which I know is like all Finding Nemo and stuff, but let me see what's up here. I know I've been on this kick about things being difficult. So if things have been overly difficult, I do feel like you're like gonna get like rescued from it in some way, like kind of like what I've already been saying this with the challenges. And if you've been someone going through that, like they're showing like a diver kind of Finding Nemo style, like taking the fish, but he just takes it to a better area. So I feel like you'll find it easier to survive, are the words I'm hearing. If it's been difficult. So now that we've got all that out of the way, unless they want to keep talking about it, let's see what else would be highest of us to be brought through for the water signs. Sun, moon, and rising right now. So now we talked about the clownfish. We're going to talk about the lionfish next here. The message for you guys with the lionfish, because they have like the poisonous like spikes, right? I think like that stick out and they're like, don't touch me, mother trucker. I stab you with my spike. I feel like what it's saying is like boundaries are important, and people might be telling you you are bad for boundaries, but you're not. So if there's anyone online in your personal life who's like the example I hear is a little bit silly and maybe a bit exaggerated. Like, why don't you give me everything and all of your time and attention all the time? You're a bad person. Or like, why don't you give me all your money? You're a bad person. It's like, no, like you're not to judge people as bad people, but if we're going to use those words and terminologies, it's like the fact that you want so much from someone without anything in return. It's like, I don't think the person with the boundaries is the bad person. And no matter how much you want to guilt them into, you letting you have your way with them at their expense. But it's necessary to have boundaries with people who like don't take no for an answer in the negative way, or is necessary to have boundaries with people who would just take from you over and over and over again. And it's okay to set those boundaries. And I know we just talked about saltiness and boundaries, but I feel like this is kind of a separate message. So that might be it for the reading. Honestly, it might be a little bit shorter than normal, but I want to see if there's anything else before we kind of part ways with this reading here, with you guys here. There's not really anything else. They are showing me like selenite. They were showing me a waterfall before, but it's a weird message about making a wish, which doesn't make much sense to me about waterfalls or anything like that. It was very vivid. I don't know why I feel called to say that as well. But as far as like selenite here, if you're someone who needs clarity, I would definitely like pray for clarity. I'd be definitely putting it out to the universe, like, hey, I need clarity, like on all this and like what to do, or on any like challenges. Like, I feel like that's like the number one, I hesitate to say this, that's one of the energies that would be very helpful for you to just have in your field and have with you. So any like practices, tools, prayers, energy healing tactics or exercises you could do for like clarity or extra clarity, I would like really do that and invite that in, whether it's like access consciousness stuff or Reiki or just praying or whatever. I feel like that's very important for you guys right now. And I feel like making the right moves is pretty important, as I suppose it would always be. You just might want to ask for just extra clarity just to make sure right now is the kind of thing they're adding in, if that makes sense. Not to scare you or anything. I just feel like it could be helpful to ask for it. Okay, they need to close the reading, so no more there. I hope that was helpful and resonated. Do whatever's for you guys good. I'm not a water sign, but I keep being prompted to look for waterfalls as a sign. So maybe that's why it showed up then. Need to like stretch a little bit. Should probably get me one of those like gamer chairs or something, or just like sit more. The thing with this chair is it like leans way back, and then I'm like, hey guys, how's it going? And it's not like probably not as engaging. So spot on, perfect. Thanks for that feedback, Jillian. Rochella asks, what does a dream of having a baby mean? I mean, that could mean so many different things, honestly. It could, I feel like one piece of advice that would be helpful just for anyone listening is like just getting very clear on like how you work and how things show up for you. But it, because that can be really helpful with like dreams and dream interpretation. Because I do have dreams that are, what's the right word? Precognitive is not the right word. Like they tell me what's going to happen, I guess. But for me, those dreams have a very particular feel to them and energy to them. And they're different than like other dreams that I have. Like there's a feel to it that I'm like, when that happens for me, I tend to, okay. Other times dreams can just be like very symbolic and just like I'm processing something or processing something someone said or a fear or whatever, you know, or whatever it is. So I think like it's also important to like know like what type of dream you're having and how to discern the difference if, you know, eventually. But having a baby could be like birthing something new into your world. It could be even like a new relationship is something I'm hearing. It could literally be a baby, but I don't feel like that's what I should say, honestly, in this situation. Like if you're literally having those dreams and you like, you know, that's the kind of dream you're having and you know, then you know. But I don't think baby dreams literally are having new babies usually in in life. I think it could be like something birthing or something like that usually in your life. For you though, if I get anything more specific for you, actually there's a lot of symbology in a lot of different areas of your life with that, in a lot of processing. So you might even want to sit and journal on it and see what comes to you as you're doing it. And that's not a cop out. That's just what I'm getting. So I'm sorry, I don't have more for you on that. Not a real baby, no way. Heard. I do feel like there are a lot of new things coming in for you though. Potentially in a lot of different areas. I feel like relationships is very key with that for some reason as well. So, but I would also, again, journal with it, sit with yourself, sit with it for yourself on it too, see what you get, too. Christina, you're asking why you keep getting sick. The words I heard were you need to change your life. There might be a lot more detail to delve into that, but I do feel like you will figure that out is something I'm getting as well. So I don't know if that was like that. Hopefully that was helpful, but that was like the starting place at least. They're saying that kind of answered it, but all right. Okay, so they are saying I might hang out with chat for a second, but Viva asks, is it normal to be in isolation for a long time? It really depends on what you're going through and where you're at in your world. Because for some people, yes, and other people's no. I know that's kind of an interesting message, but I feel like you're okay. I feel like you're fine. Even if you're going through isolation, but if you're really sick of it, I would really sit with like what you might need to change in order to change that, or if there's anything you might need to change about yourself in order to start, inviting something else in. Right now, it might be like a necessary learning phase for you, but I feel like eventually that'll change and people will begin flowing into your world a bit more, or there'll be less isolation. But it also doesn't have to be forever is what I'd say. So don't feel stuck in that. I honestly love hermit mode too sometimes. So guilty of hermit mode. You're welcome. Laser Girl says they are also going through extreme isolation. What I hear is it is a phase and it will end. So, I know. Like sometimes that's awesome and hermit mode's great, and sometimes it's not. And you're like, bro, I would like 20 dates, and so I I understand. I do understand how lonely it can get, just based on some of the things I've gone through. So if you don't feel like you're in a necessary phase of hermitude, for anyone listening, I guess the question is like, what do you need to change to start bringing in people right now? But oftentimes I do feel like there's like, it's serving us in some way, or just keeping us away from like the wrong things. If you feel like it's more just like we're forced into it or guided into it or something. So I think it does really depend on the person and all that. Yeah, those of us who don't like it get forced to cancel plans. I hear that can happen. In 3 years of spiritual work, I learned to jump out of hermit mode in one day or a couple hours. That's awesome. I think that's a great, it's great that you have that process is what I'd say. And that is, that works for you. I think that's awesome. And I don't feel like hermit mode always serves you as well, as much as some other people. But I think that's also a great practice to have when you don't want to get stuck in that, if that makes sense. And it's not for the highest good to be stuck in it. I choose self-love. Says keeping me from the wrong people. Totally. And that's totally something that can happen. You look like a pirate, but very gentle energy. I'm the anti-pirate. I'm just here to make right the wrongs that have happened to the pirate visuals of a human being. I am here to bring justice to the pirates. Those are all jokes, I think. But yeah, I can see what you mean. I haven't really put it together that I look like a pirate, but I have the beard, I have the long hair, I have the ear piercing somewhere over here. So it's looking a little piratey over here. Nordical. I do believe that's in my ancestry somewhere. But I'm not. Is Wales Nordic? Maybe it is more direct than I thought. But actually, I think the ancestor that was more Nordic, we're not sure if that's actually my blood relative, because we think, well, we don't need to unveil my family drama here, but that's all I'll say, I guess. So I think so. I think that's in my ancestry, but I don't have a direct tree, like physical. I mean, I could check in. Is that in my ancestry? A little bit is what I got. Have I done Air and Earth yet? Yes. I have, so you'll have to watch the replay on YouTube if you want to catch those. I was just swimming in the Baltic Sea this week. Heck yeah, that's awesome. I think I'm going to hang out for just a second longer, and then we'll start the full channel mode message. Rochelle asks, is there a reason why they've wanted to hermit so much? What I hear is, yes, it's necessary for your transformation, are the words I hear for that one. So I feel like it is part of the process for you. Okay, I guess I need to channel. So, so this is, a lot of you here are probably familiar with the full channel mode. So I'm just going to be channeling spirit guides, the angels and source for you guys. So it's, it's really just whatever's for the highest good to come through for you right now. For those unfamiliar, so there is like the words that come through, and there's also the energetic transmission along from source that does energy healing, energy work, upgrades, whatever's for the highest good along with it. So you are getting more than just the words, but I never like to limit it either way. Because I'd love it to be as good as it can be for everyone who needs it, or for those who would be for the highest good, for it to be good, for whatever, whatever's for the highest good. So I know I'm sounding a little bit silly right now, but I think I'm just going to start and we'll see what comes through. I know they talked about channeling on like what the moon phase would be about. They might add that in. So we'll see what they do with this channel today. As far as the theme on what it's about, I do feel like they're going to be talking about power a little bit, because they're showing me a tiger. They're also showing me a clam, so that may or may not directly show up. I feel like this will be about owning your power and also moving forward, but we'll see what they say. So, time to start. Here we go. Sorry for the extra coughing. Hello, and welcome to today's channel for you. And of course, it's for you when you see it. There's a timeless aspect to these channel messages where you find these at the right time, whether you are just scrolling through TikTok right now and happen to land upon this message, or you see it on YouTube 12 years in the future. It does not really matter. These are meant to find you when they find you. And you could say that all of life is that way, whether it seems like it or not. And many of you could probably think back to times where you clicked on a YouTube video or watched a YouTube video reading, and you were like, oh, that seems like the wrong time, wrong place to me, as I am exceptionally triggered and none of this felt accurate, and why am I even here? Why did I click on this? And we would say that would just be your lesson, not to just click willy-nilly all over the internet for clarity and guidance in your world, for your world is precious and could really use pristine guidance. And yes, there are those on YouTube or social media or other places that really provide a high caliber, a high quality, pristine guidance for you in your world at the right times. And it can be really helpful for you. So that would be a good thing to listen to. But We would also say to trust yourselves when you're feeling like something is not resonating, not landing, is exceptionally triggering, more so than usual, or not really serving you. That is your lesson and your time to realize is not the right time for you to watch a reading, or that is not the right practitioner for you. And that is all that is saying. So it did find you at the right time in a way, to be the lesson you needed in that moment, not to just trust everyone with your guidance in your world. And again, your world is precious. If you knew how precious your world was, you would not just hand the reins over to anyone to guide it, to steer it, to usher it in a direction. You would want the utmost best for it in all circumstances, in all areas, regardless of the stories parents gave you or other people gave you that you're not worthy or you're not deserving of anything of the sort. In a way, you are the universe. The universe is you. So your life is, in a sense, in the utmost importance. And we are telling you this so that you guard your world. Guard your world from others who have their own agendas or who would use or manipulate your world for their own gain. Guard your world from the people you know don't have your best intentions at this time or at any time. Because you owning your power, and we will have to clarify this, is you helping the universe own its power, or more aptly, the aspects of the universe that need to own their own power. And you might be listening going, well, the universe is everything. It already knows its power. It is power in a certain way. So why would the universe need to own its power? Well, you are the universe in your lifetime, learning to own your power in a certain way so the world can own its power. So the aspects of the world that need to own its power, own its power. And that will change this world. You might think you have no effects, and that is a bit of a hopeless, despairing stance that we would steer you away from if we could. Because that is how you become more powerless. Even though you have the power, it's not like you lose your power. You just do not utilize it or access it to make a change in the world or in your world. The only people who would purport that your life is meaningless either gain from that or got swept up in that lie themselves. And they do not know any other way than to commiserate about it, spread it to help them feel better, or to help themselves not feel so alone in that. Or they do just not know any better. But your world has great meaning. So are you willing to learn the lessons, to guard your world, to protect your world? This is not protection where you need to be afraid. You definitely do not need to be paranoid that your life will be ruined if you click on the wrong video or anything like that. It's more about you realizing the meaning in your world so you can hold the power in your world, your power in your world, and not give it away. Because this world is learning to hold its power. The earth. The people on the earth. And the more people hold their power, the less tragic stuff will tend to occur. We will not say all of it will be mitigated. We do not say you must run out and save the world by owning your power. We are just saying you have an impact and this could help. The more people are owning the power, the more they will be swayed by the right things, the less they will be swayed by the wrong things, by people who would steer them in the wrong directions for them, for the other's personal gain. And that is what we meant by this is about owning your power. When we gave Brandon the preview, it's more about owning your world. And we've said it a million times that another way to your power is owning your intuition, owning your divine guidance, honing that in so you're not pulled around by others. We will restate that. In fact, we just did. But that's not what this is about. This is about your impact on the collective, which is part of why we do this. So we can help you have the shifts you'd like in your life, but also so you can help shift the collective in the right ways by imbibing the transmission, having the shifts you need to have. So it is meant to help you, but it is also meant to help all. That is why we do this on a certain level. One of the reasons. So are you ready to have an impact simply by owning your power? By realizing you do not need to be guided by everyone else? By realizing you do not need to give that away or the importance of your world away to let any old person guide it around? And yes, the universe is orchestrating so much of this. So not just this channel, but the world. So if you are going through a lesson that has to do with your power, if you're going through that lesson, it's the divine orchestration that gets you to where you need to go. It's the shift in the collective that gets you to where you need to go. Sometimes through your own shifting. Let's change gears. We realize you have been asking about the moon phase coming up in your human time. And this will still resonate for those of you in the future who are not held to this moon in your linear time, to your perception. This moon is about transition because that is the phase you are in. Even in a grander overarching cycle that the Earth is in, that humanity is in, transition is one of the themes that's been playing out for years now, and it's only going to heighten. So this moon may exacerbate some of that energy to hurry things along, get you out of the stuck places that have been keeping you from transition. And those of you who have been keeping yourselves stuck, that does serve a purpose at times if there is a deeper lesson that needs to be learned to help you move forward correctly, or something else you need to realize before you move forward so you can either have the life you dream of or are more prepared for the future. So you do not need to beat up on yourself if you feel like this moon is not fixing every area of your life through the transition. But realize that the right things will transition at the right times for you. And the energy of transition that shows up can hit multiple areas, different levels for each of you, because it really depends on what area of your life is ready for that energy, what area of your life is malleable enough to receive that energy of transition, and what are you ready for. Many of you think you are ready for change or great change, and many of you are, but not always to the degree that you think. A big change could come tomorrow out of left field in a certain area, and you would be like, oh no, what is the universe trying to do with this? And you may trust, but it would raise the hackles a little bit if you were not prepared for the big major transition that was coming in, or the bump in the road. We would tell you to trust the transition with this moon, or in general at these time periods. The only things that will transition are the things that are ready to transition. And eventually everything will transition. But the cycle will play out for years more, so you are in a phase of transition that will last quite a while. And some of you may even feel like certain things transition over decades, in the world at least. Maybe in your personal life at times as well. but those will be shorter bursts for most of you, rather than a long, drawn-out 6-decade transition or transformation. Though some of you, if you are game for that and you are willing and that is your path, that may just show up, but that is very few of you. The other thing this moon will speak to is emotions. Emotions have been flaring a lot recently because a lot is being brought to the surface for humanity. There's a lot being brought out of the way of stuck emotions, realizations of the truth, and the truth can be emotional or bring up emotions. Oftentimes, there is a truth within all humans. There's an access to knowing or truth within all humans. So sometimes people keep the truth away from themselves to protect themselves from certain thoughts, emotions, reactions, things they are not ready to bear, metaphorical crosses they are not ready to bear. But the universe, in some ways, is growing a bit impatient for those who would put this off indefinitely, if that makes sense, for the transformation does need to occur. So there might be a bit of a muddying of the waters or a greater transition as far as emotions are concerned, or a bit more truth laid bare over the next coming weeks than usual. But it is just to... we do not mean stir the pot in a negative sense. Stir the pot so that the emotions can be released and the stuck places can be fixed up, if that makes sense, in order to facilitate the change that would come along with these emotions being released. We showed Brandon an image of something akin to strip mining or fracking earlier. It may seem like the universe is fracking your emotions, really mining them out, really allowing the release to occur. And that is one of the themes of this moon. Lastly, we will talk about the autumn. It might not seem like it has to do with this moon, but it does. Some of the themes this moon will bring along, or the transitions, will play out through the autumn time. And it could seem totally unrelated. It could be a change happening in your external world with a significant other, or with a job that's the theme of transition, or whatever you are fighting about or disagreeing on, or it does not have to be negative, going through a change about. Plays out through the autumn time. You're in some ways heading into a 3-month cycle of release, but also nostalgia in some ways. That might seem a little bit strange, but sometimes nostalgia does lead to certain amounts of release because it is helping you to access certain memories, emotions, thoughts that you had as a child or earlier in your lifetime, and also helping you to re-access things that you miss in your current reality and bring those back if you'd like, or bring different versions of those back if you'd like. Perhaps you have a nostalgic moment where you drink an apple cider and it reminds you of this great party you had with friends and you realize you miss community. And that is your sign to re-invite the right community for you back into your world if community has been a part or a theme of your world that has fallen away of late. So nostalgia will be something that's playing out a lot in the next 3 months following your moon phase coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow in your world and your time. There are more themes that pertain to the moon phase, but they are not all relevant or needed by this crowd today, or for those who will be watching in the future. And those things will be a bit more readily apparent, or other readers or tarot readers or astrologers will cover those themes a bit more succinctly. We would in some ways be wasting your time to head into the drivel of some of the smaller themes this moon could bring up. Moon phases do happen pretty frequently, so we do not like to get into things that may only last a minute sometimes, but rather the themes that would help you the most when you approach this channeled message with whatever intentions you have to improve your world, to up-level, to upshift, to gain greater knowledge or clarity. So we will not waste your time with the smaller notes this moon might bring, as you will be experiencing them yourselves and other people will be covering them. If you are interested or if they are more significant to you, you will find that information elsewhere if it will be a bigger theme for you. But that is really all we have for you today with this message. We've covered what we wanted to cover energetically, verbally in a lot of ways. The last thing we will talk about is this theme of a pillar. There are a lot of pillars of strength rising in communities all over the globe. And many of you will be called to be one. Not all of you. Some of you are in the throes of loss or grief or having a difficult time. And you do not have to be a pillar of strength for others if you feel you are crumbling at this time. Give yourself a break. Give yourself a pat on the back for doing your best, and you can be a pillar of strength or whatever you are called to be for others at the right time for you. Once you are done breaking down, going through what you're going through, healing, etc. Look after yourself first, is what we would say, unless you are very strongly, extremely even getting the message that you need to go help this person or you need to be a pillar in this moment. But if you are not getting that message, do not force yourself to be something that you are not in the place to be ever, is what we would say. But many of you will be rising into pillar of strength positions. It does not have to be difficult. It could be holding down the fort while your kids go through emotional episodes. Or, for example, if you had a daughter going through something with a boyfriend or significant other, you might be called to be a pillar of strength for that child of yours. More so than before, where you have to take up a more emotionally supportive role as a parent, or even for your own significant other. If you are willing to be a pillar of strength for those people, you are growing your community, even if it is just one person that you are in community with. You are growing yourself and your soul, and you are growing yourself for the times you will be in the future, where pillars of strength will be needed by the collective to be placed in strategic positions to really help the world. And that can be how awakening occurs as well. If you are a pillar of spirituality in your community, or a pillar of intuition, or a pillar of kindness, you are a beacon of these energies for the world, and it allows them to spread across the globe more readily. So do not discount your service to one individual in kindness, in strength, in fortitude, in support, for you are actually changing the world through that service you are undergoing. And if you are truly called to be of service in that way, it will not be so draining that you cannot do it. It will not take away from your life so much that it tanks everything. It will be a natural calling and something you are naturally fit for, just through the lessons you've gone through and through what you are called to do in those moments. But you will know who you are. That's the last theme regarding the moon and in general we'd like to talk about. And with that, we will bid you farewell after one last message. One of the main energies we would recommend you cultivate, and we've mentioned this before, is peace. Outside of being a pillar, or though you could bring that frequency with it, outside of trying to pander to other people or even their ideas or anything of the sorts, anywhere you can muster it, we highly recommend quiet time, peaceful time where you are cultivating peace, meditation, whatever it is for you that you find that frequency of peace readily available and accessible and around you. Do more of that. Do an hour more of that as you can. Every week, every month, whatever your schedule allows, because those frequencies you inhabit do affect the collective, do affect the world, and you elevating helps to elevate the world. And many of you withhold yourself from frequencies of peace or higher knowing out of fear of what it might do to others if you are in peace while they are not, or you are afraid of how others will perceive you. We would ask you to let go of that or sit with that until you are able to see through it and let go of that. You are actually doing a great service when you are elevating the collective through your peace, through your meditation, through your, if you teach classes, your classes, through your service you're giving, if it brings those higher frequencies. It is a much needed thing. It does not necessarily make you better than others or anything like that, but it is necessary. So that is our recommendation to help you cultivate a higher frequency on Earth and for yourselves in your life, is just bringing that energy of peace in more, so it's more readily accessible to you, so you are that pillar of strength of peace when people need it. And sometimes you just being the example, you don't always have to give away that peace or lose it for others, or put yourself purposely around people and anxiety to try to bring peace to the world. But just being that example could be the prompt that others who encounter you need to realize that in themselves or begin to move that direction, because the unveiling of the possibility can be what leads to change in others if they are not actively cultivating, seeking out, or creating possibilities themselves. And of course, they can just land in people's laps just based on the work others are doing, but we digress from the message. Go forth and, as you can, cultivate peace for yourself, and you will thank yourself greatly. But that is it. There's no more for this message. So we are leaving you in peace. We are wishing you well, and may the highest and best to transpire. And go forth and be who you are meant to be. And do not listen to others about being this type of person to have this thing, or being that type of person. And we mean others out in the collective, blasting those messages out. You must be an asshole in order to get girls or significant others or things like that. That is what we mean. Do not listen to that. There is plenty for you if you are you. But there is nothing for you if you are someone else. And of course, you could argue that's not totally the truth, but we would ask you to sit with those words and see what comes to you. You don't have to buy it outright, but consider it. It could just lead you into something that's a bit more aligned for you on this planet at this time, which is really in part what we're going for. So we wish you well, and we will talk to you at another time. Signing out for now, the Angelic Collective of Zorbital. Farewell. And so it's cool. Awesome. You're welcome, Sydney. Bless your heart. I needed this. Hit home. Awesome, Angela. Thanks for letting me know. I'm so super glad to hear it. You're welcome. You're so welcome. Aviva asked, do I feel tired after? Really depends on maybe the crowd and the channel. Usually not. I can sometimes feel a bit out of it or very spacey, or like I really need to ground. Sometimes I actually feel very like refreshed because there's a lot it's like channeling, source and like a lot of that either divine energy, things like that. It's actually very like refreshing and potentially rejuvenating. So being a conduit like that can help. So many tunings, so much appreciation and gratitude. Awesome, you're welcome. Appreciation and gratitude. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so yeah, angels have definitely been with you, Bree, for sure. I don't understand. Oh, Brandon, if you were asked if you have a PO box to send, element signs. Oh, that's so sweet. I don't right now. I can look into it, but that's very, very sweet of them. And also I totally understand because my signs are like note cards with chicken scratch handwriting on them. So I do appreciate that. I think, you are welcome, Jessica. Yeah, I might look into getting a PO box. I think one of the things I've encountered is I do tend, I seem like I've tended to move a lot. So sometimes I hesitate to like get a PO box somewhere, and then I move, and then I change the PO box. But that's also not really an excuse. So we would send you cards and stuff. All right, I'll look into a PO box. I think that's a really good idea. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys. I might hang out for just a second, but I think I need to close the live soon. So anytime mailbacks, I'll look into that. 82 likes. Yeah, thank you guys so much for all the likes. Anyone who sent gifts, I really appreciate that. I know I'm not always looking at the screen and like noticing when you guys do that, but I want to say thank you so much for those of you who do. You're welcome, Lauren. Thank you. I think I need to head out. They've kind of really been saying like, oh, you need to close live ASAP. So I think I'm going to do that. But I really love your monthly newsletters too. Oh, thank you, Jillian. Yeah. Joy asked, do I do one-on-one channel messages? Not anymore. I did used to do a lot of one-on-one readings, but I just need to transition my business to something else. Because it was going well as far as the readings and the results. I just based on the feedback, I do believe, but I just needed something different for me. Really cool. Okay, I'm going to close the live. I just want to say thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. I always appreciate getting to do this as well. So I will see you next week. And I hope you have a great rest of your week until I see you then. Okay, so you guys take care.